In the vast and shadowed annals of Tamriel's history, few mysteries loom as large or as enduring as the sudden and inexplicable disappearance of the Dwemer, those ingenious and reclusive folk known to the surface world as the dwarves. Picture, if you will, the ancient landscapes of Morrowind, where volcanic peaks pierce the sky like jagged teeth, and the air hums with the faint echo of forgotten machinery buried deep beneath the earth. It is here, in the heart of Vardenfell, that the tale of the Dwemer truly unfolds, a story woven from threads of brilliance, hubris, and an ambition that reached beyond the stars themselves. As you settled into this lore to sleep to, let the gentle rhythm of their history lull you, like the distant grind of brass gears turning in the dark. The Dwemer were not born of the surface world's chaos. They were the deep elves, masters of the subterranean realms, their cities sprawling labyrinths of steam-powered wonders and tonal architecture that sang to the very bones of Nirn. From the frozen depths of Skyrim's Black Reach to the brass-lit halls of Markarth, their presence was felt, but rarely seen. A civilization that shunned the gods and worshipped instead the cold logic of invention. They arrived in Tamriel during the Merethic era, migrating from the east, perhaps from the ruins of their lost continent of Yokuda, or maybe forged in the fires of some forgotten ethereal realm. Their skin was pale, their eyes sharp and unyielding, framed by beards that spoke of ancient craftsmanship rather than vanity. They spoke in tongues of metal and math, their language a symphony of clicks and whirs that mimicked the automatons they built, those faithful servants of brass and soul gem, the dwarven spheres and centurions that still wander the ruins today, guardians of secrets long silenced. What drove the Dwemer to such isolation? It was their unyielding rationalism, a philosophy that rejected the divine meddling of the Aedra and Daedra alike, while the Chimer, their cousins on the surface world, danced in the shadow of Azura and Boethia. The Dwemer delved deeper, seeking to unravel the tonal architecture of the universe itself, the vibrations that underpin reality, the songs that birthed the world from the void. They built not temples, but forges, not altars, but observatories pointed at the stars, where they pondered the nature of Anu and Padomai, the primal forces locked in eternal struggle. In their grandest works, like the Numidium, the walking city, they dreamed of godhood not through worship but through mastery, harnessing the heart of Lorkhan, that beating core of creation stolen from the trickster god himself. Yet for all their ingenuity, the Dwemer were not without conflict. Their alliance with the Chimer against the Nords at the Battle of Red Mountain in the First Era would seal their fate, but long before that cataclysm, tension simmered. The War of the First Council, pitting the rational Dwemer under King Dumak Dwarf King against the theocratic Chimer led by Nerevar Indoril, was more than a clash of arms. It was a war of worldviews. The Dwemer sought the heart, not for reverence, but to fuel their machines of transcendence. Kagrenak, the brilliant tonal architect, envisioned a tool set, keening, the needle that sang of sorrow, Sunder, the hammer that shattered silence, and Wraithguard, the gauntlet to wield them without peril, that could attune the heart's power to the Dwemer's collective soul. As the war raged, alliances fractured. The Tribunal, Vivek, Almalexia, and Sotha Sil, coveted the heart for their own apotheosis, whispering promises of divinity to Nerevar. Betrayal hung in the air like ash from Red Mountain's mouth, And on that fateful day in 1E700, as the mountain trembled and the world held its breath, the Dwemer delved too deep. What happened next? The official histories speak of a sudden vanishing, a puff of metaphysical smoke, leaving only echoes in their halls. Let us pause here, in the quiet before the storm, and consider the whispers of the Falmer, those twisted snow elves enslaved by the Dwemer in their blindness, a grim reminder of the cost of progress. The Dwemer's downfall was not mere accident. It was the inevitable collision of mortal ambition with the immutable laws of the cosmos. As you drift toward sleep, imagine the hum of their forges fading, the lights dimming in Blackreach's vast cavern, where the great lift still awaits a hand to turn its crank. The Dwemer are gone, but their questions linger. Why did they disappear, and what shadows did they cast upon the stars? The Dwemer's story begins not with their end, but with the foundations they laid in the earth's embrace. Cities like Balm's Amshen and Manche, where the air still carries the scent of oiled mechanisms and alchemical vapors. These were no mere dwellings, they were symphonies in stone and steam, powered by the arcane hearts of Dwemer animunculi, those clockwork guardians that patrolled the corridors with unerring precision. Centurions, towering behemoths of brass and fire, their hammers raised in eternal vigilance, while spheres unfurled like metallic flowers to strike at intruders. The Dwemer themselves, clad in armor that hummed with latent energy, moved through these holes like ghosts in their own domain, their minds attuned to the tonal frequencies that resonated through every gear and girder. To understand their disappearance, one must first grasp their worldview, a tapestry of skepticism and supremacy, woven from the threads of pure reason. They denied the gods not out of spite, but from a profound conviction that divinity was a construct, a tonal manipulation accessible to those who could master the wheel of the orbis. Kagranak, that enigmatic figure, whose name echoes through the ages like a half-forgotten chord, was the architect of this philosophy. Born in the shadow of the Velothi Mountains, he rose through the ranks of the tonal architects, those scholars who dissected the songs of creation itself. His writings, fragmentary and encoded in the runes of Dwemeris, speak of the heart of Lorcan as a battery, a divine engine left humming in the earth after the gods' great betrayal at convention. The heart, you see, was no mere relic. It pulsed with the very rhythm of Mundus, the heartbeat of Lorcan that bound the world together. The Dwemer discovered it during their excavations beneath Red Mountain, a chamber where the air thrummed with otherworldly power, and the stones wept blood-red tears. Dumak, the pragmatic king, saw alliance with the Chimer as a means to secure it, but Kagranak dreamed bigger, to siphon its energy, to elevate the Dwemer race beyond flesh and frailty. The tools he forged were masterpieces of tonal manipulation. Keening, a dagger that pierced the veil of silence to draw forth the heart's sorrowful song. Sunder, a hammer whose strikes echoed the primal clash of Anu and Padomai. And Wraithguard, the protective gauntlet etched with wards against the backlash of divine fury. As the First Council War escalated, the Dwemer legions marched with automatons at their flanks, their war machines grinding through Chimer lines like inexorable fate. Nerevar, the Hortator, stood as their nemesis, guided by the Daedric whispers of Azura, while the Tribunal schemed in the wings. The Battle of Red Mountain was no single clash, but a symphony of betrayal. where Dwemer tonal manipulators shattered the earth, and chimer sorcerers called down storms of ash and fire. In the chaos, Kagranak retreated to his sanctum, activating the tools upon the heart in a ritual meant to transcend mortality. What went wrong? The theories abound, each a thread in the labyrinth of lore that pulls us deeper into the night. Some say it was hubris unchecked, the Dwemer's rationalism blinding them to the heart's vengeful will. Lorcan, after all, was the trickster whose heart was torn out by the Aedra. Perhaps it sought repayment in kind, consuming the souls of those who would harness it. Others whisper of interference from the Psychics, the mystic order who foresaw the ritual's peril to the Kalpa itself, subtly shifting the tonal harmonics to redirect the energy. As you listen to the soft cadence of this tale, feel the weight of Red Mountain pressing down, the air growing thick with the scent of molten brass and fading echoes. The Dwemer delved where no mortal should, and in that delving they touched the void. The heart of Lorcan lay exposed in its crimson cradle, a pulsating orb no larger than a man's fist, yet radiating the fury of creation's dawn. Kagranak approached it not with awe, but with the precision of a clockmaker dismantling a flawed timepiece, his tools gleaming in the forge light of the sanctum. The air grew heavy, charged with the low hum of impending transcendence as the Dwemer gathered in silent anticipation, their faces illuminated by the heart's glow. This was to be their ascension, a collective zero-summing into the realm of gods, where flesh would yield to pure tonal essence and the stars would bend to their will. But the ritual faltered, the harmonics clashing like discordant notes in a grand opera, and in that moment the Dwemer were unmade, vanished from the tapestry of existence, leaving only the echo of their ambition reverberating through the ages. To unravel this enigma, we must turn to the scrolls and stones that preserve their legacy, fragments pieced together by scholars from the Imperial Library to the dusty tomes of the College of Winterhold. The official account, as chronicled in The Battle of Red Mountain by the tribunal's scribes, paints a picture of divine retribution. Azira, betrayed by the Chimaere's theft of the heart's power, cursed them to ash-skinned Dwemer, while the Dwemer simply ceased to be, a punishment for their godless hubris. But this is but the surface tale, a veil drawn over deeper truths by those who claim divinity for themselves. Vivek's 36 lessons allude to it obliquely, speaking of the second numinous claw and the brass god's denial. Hints at a failure not of will, but of comprehension, the Dwemer's inability to achieve chim, that enlightened state where one recognizes the dream of the Godhead, yet retains individuality. Deeper still lie the theories born of Dwemer ruins, where expeditions unearth not just artifacts, but anomalies, pockets of distorted time and Blackreach, where the air shimmers with half-formed echoes of dwarven voices, or the corpus of Yagrum Bagaran, the last living Dwemer, his flesh twisted by corpus, yet his mind sharp with forbidden knowledge. Holed up and tell fear under Sotha Sil's watchful eye, Yagrum whispers of a tonal shift that displaced his kin to an outer realm, a void beyond the plains of Oblivion or Aetherius. Was it the heart's rejection, lashing out like a cornered beast, or Kagranek's miscalculation, tuning the tools to a frequency that unraveled their very souls? As the night deepens and your eyelids grow heavy, envision those souls adrift, sparks of genius scattered across the dream sleeve, waiting to reform in some distant Kalpa. The Falmer, too, bear witness to the aftermath, their devolved forms a testament to Dwemer cruelty, blinded and bent to labor in the depths, only to be abandoned in the chaos. Some loremongers posit that the Dwemer's vanishing was no accident, but a mercy,
sparing them from the tribunal's rise and the endless cycles of Tamrielic strife. Others see it as the ultimate experiment. By attuning to the heart, they became the Numidium itself, their essence fueling the brass golem's walks across time, denying their own existence in a paradox of self-erasure. Let these possibilities swirl in your mind like mist over Vardenfell's fumaroles, each one a lullaby of what might have been, drawing you closer to the heart of the mystery.
Beyond the tribunal's sanitized chronicles, the Dwemer's fate invites a chorus of speculations, each voice rising from the fog of forgotten epochs like the steam from a geothermal vent. Consider the Annuad, that mythic recounting of creation's wheel, where the Dwemer sought to step outside its turning, to become the enantiomorph, the balanced opposites of Anu and Padomai, without the godhead's dream binding them. Kagranak's ritual in this light was an attempt at enantiomorphic ascension, using the heart as the fulcrum to flip the script of existence. But the tools betrayed him. Keening's keen wail harmonized too sharply with the heart's defiant pulse, Sunda's blows fracturing not just stone, but the very lattice of reality. In an instant, the Dwemer was zero-summed, their identities negated in the grand equation, reduced to the nothingness from which Numidium drew its paradoxical power. The walking city, that brass colossus, strode forth empty, its creators erased to affirm its own godlike denial. I am and are all we. As you breathe deeply, letting the words wash over you like cool cavern air, picture those souls dissolving into the brass, fueling wars across the ages, from the Tiber Septim's conquests to the Alamalexia schism, eternal prisoners in their own invention. Yagrum Bargan's testimony, scrolled in the margins of Vivek's forbidden sermons, adds a poignant layer to this unraveling. Afflicted by the divine disease of Corpus, his body a grotesque fusion of flesh and mechanism, he wandered the outer realms during the ritual, spared by mere chance or cosmic irony. Returning to find his people gone, he pieced together the tonal discord. The heart, attuned incorrectly, broadcast a cancellation wave that unmade the Dwemer en masse, scattering their essences into the dream sleeve like ash on the wind. No afterlife for them, no Sovgard or Apocrypha, just the void's embrace, where echoes of their machinery persist as ghosts in the machine. Expeditions into ruins like Arcaniftum Sturdums reveal anomalies supporting this. Temporal rifts where time loops in futile cycles, or homunculi that activate without command, as if seeking lost masters. The Falmer, devolved sentinels of the deep, murmur in their twisted tongues of a great silencing, a day when the songs ceased and the lights dimmed forever. Yet not all theories dwell in tragedy. Some posit redemption in the stars. The Dwemer, stargazers of the subterranean skies, may have pierced the ethereous veil, their ritual a bridge to the ethereous beyond mortal grasp. Kagranak's final strike with Sunder could have tuned the heart to the tower's song, propelling his kin into the eternal light, leaving Nirn as wanderers among the Magni. Artifacts like the ethereal crown, forged from star metal, hint at this exodus, their properties defying Mundus's laws as if infused with otherworldly essence. In the quiet hours, as sleep beckons, imagine them there, dwarven smiths hammering constellations into new forms, free from the wheel's grind, their disappearance not an end but a dawn in the void. These visions, drawn from the deepest wells of lore, weave a tapestry as vast as Blackreach itself, inviting you to lose yourself in its folds. The interplay of Chimere and Dwemer at Red Mountain was the catalyst, a convergence of rational fire and divine spark that ignited the cataclysm. Nerevar's pact with Dumak, fragile as spun glass, shattered under the weight of ambition, the tribunal's machinations ensuring the heart's power flowed to them alone. Kagranak, sensing the betrayal, hastened the ritual, his chants rising in defiance, a final, desperate symphony against the gods' chorus. The mountain roared in response, lava flows etching the scars we see today, while the Dwemer's vanishing rippled outward, altering the tonal balance of Tamriel forever. From this void sprang the Dunmer's cursed legacy, the rise of the living gods, and the endless quest for truth in dusty scrolls and haunted halls. As the narrative pauses, feel the earth's subtle tremor, the legacy of that day echoing softly, lulling you toward dreams of brass and shadow. Delving further into the labyrinth of lore, the Battle of Red Mountain emerges not as a mere skirmish, but as the pivotal symphony whose final note silenced the Dwemer forever. Envision the scene, the year 1E700, the air thick with the acrid tang of sulfur and sweat, as Dwemer legions clad in steam-venting armor clash with Chimer warriors under a sky bruised by ash clouds. Dumak Dwarf King, his crown a forge of intricate filigree, stands resolute beside Nerevar, their alliance a tenuous bridge over the chasm of ideology. Yet beneath the mountain's fiery heart, Kagranak labors in secrecy, his workshop alive with the whir of calibrating devices and the soft glow of soul gems attuned to the divine pulse. The heart of Lorcan, suspended in a cradle of tonal resonators, beats like a war drum, its rhythm syncing with the chaos above, each strike of sword and shout amplifying its call. Kagranak's plan was audacious, to strike the heart with sunder thrice, attuning it to the Dwemer's collective will, then use keening to draw forth the essence, transmuting flesh into immortal mechanism via Wraithguard's safeguard. But the tribunal, lurking in the shadows of ambition, had their own designs. Vivek's cunning, Almalexia's fervor, Sothasil's cold logic converging to claim the power for godhood. As Nerevar falls, betrayed by the very pact that bound them, Kagranak activates the ritual, the sanctum filling with a resonant hum that shakes the earth. The Dwemer, linked in tonal communion across their underground empire, feel the pull, a siren song promising eternity. Then the discord, a harmonic fracture, perhaps induced by Azura's vengeful curse or the heart's own rebellion, unraveling their bonds. In a blink, they are gone, their cities falling silent, automatons grinding to confused halts, leaving only the tribunal to ascend amid the ruins. As you relax into the tale's gentle flow, sense the mountain's lingering heat, the way it seems to whisper regrets through its vents, drawing you into slumber's embrace. This cataclysm birthed legends, the Dunmer's ashen curse, the rise of the living gods, and the endless riddle of the vanished folk. Scholars pore over the War of the First Council annals, piecing together eyewitness fragments from Dunmer oral traditions, tales of a great vanishing light that consumed the Deep Ones whole.
Vivek, in his poetic obfuscation, describes it as the brass shadow eating its makers, a metaphor for the Numidium's birth, when the Dwemer's souls became the fuel for its reality-denying strides. Without them, the golem lay dormant until Tiber Septim's era, when it reshaped Tamriel under the En-Sabanur's enigmatic gaze. Yagram Bagarn, the sole survivor, confirms the tonal backlash in hushed confessions to the Naravarine, a misstruck note that zeroed their sum, scattering essences into the void. Ruins like Valok's tomb in Solstheim echo this, with inscriptions warning of the song that ends the singers. The Falmer, blinded slaves of the deep, inherited the emptiness, their howls a mournful dirge for lost overlords. Some theories suggest the Dwemer persist as spectral guardians, their consciousness embedded in the stone, activating traps against intruders who dare to disturb the quiet. Others propose a pocket realm, a brass limbo where time loops eternally, their experiments continuing in isolation. As the narrative unwinds like a slowly uncoiling spring, let these possibilities cradle your thoughts, the mystery unfolding softly, inviting dreams of hidden halls and unspoken fates.
In the wake of the vanishing, Tamriel's underbelly became a gallery of ghosts. Dwemer ruins sprawling like the skeletons of slumbering giants, their corridors echoing with the faint tick of residual mechanisms. Blackreach, that vast subterranean wonder beneath Skyrim, stands as the grandest testament, a cavern lit by luminescent fungi and the cold blue of Falmer torches, where the great lift creaks under the weight of forgotten time. Here, the air tastes of rust and regret, and the walls bear inscriptions in Dwemery script, poetic equations that map the stars' hidden symmetries. Explorers like the Nords of old, delving for glory, emerged changed, haunted by visions of brass cities marching through the void. The ripple rippled outward, destabilizing alliances. The chimer, cursed to Dwemer, rose under the tribunal's divine banner, while the Nords claimed victory in name only, their songs lamenting the deep folk's silent flight. As you settle deeper into this nocturnal narrative, let the imagined hum of distant gears soothe your mind, a mechanical lullaby from the depths. Artifacts, scattered like breadcrumbs through the ages, fuel endless conjecture. The Dwemer puzzle box, a relic of interlocking spheres that unlocks only under precise tonal input, suggests their minds were attuned to puzzles beyond mortal ken. Perhaps their vanishing was a self-imposed riddle solved by transcendence into the puzzle's core. Or consider the Agma Infinium, that forbidden tome of Hermaeus Mora, which hints at the Dwemer's pact with the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, trading souls for secrets that unraveled their form. Kagranak's tools, now wielded by heroes and fools alike, carry residual power. Keening's edge sings of lost sorrow, drawing madness to those who grasp it without Wraithguard's grace. Sunder's heft cracks not just stone, but the veil, glimpsing alternate threads where the Dwemer endured. These relics whisper of a people who viewed existence as machinery to be retooled, their end a deliberate disassembly. Yagram Bagarn, in his Telvanni exile, elaborated on this to the Naravarine. The ritual created a brass mirror, reflecting the Dwemer's collective back upon itself, inverting their sum to zero. spared by his absence in the outer realms, perhaps negotiating with the Psijic order or charting ethereal paths. He returned to a world remade, his body warped by the echoes of that inversion. The Falmer, once snow elves proud and fair, devolved into blind scavengers under Dwemer tyranny, their enslavement a dark footnote that amplified the tragedy. Freed by absence, they inherited only shadows and spite. Some lore posits the Dwemer as the lost ones of prophecy, destined to return when the Numidium stirs anew, their brass legions marching to reclaim the heart's stolen beat. Others see them merged with the skin stealers of the clockwork city, Sothasil's mechanical paradise, a pale echo of their vision. As the tale meanders like a river through cavern stone, feel the subtle vibrations of possibility, each theory a soft pillow for your drifting thoughts, guiding you toward the slumber, where mysteries resolve in dreams. The Numidium, that towering enigma of Dwemer ingenuity, casts a long shadow over the tale of disappearance, its hollow core a monument to what was lost. Forged in the fires of Vardenfell's heart, this brass behemoth was no mere weapon, but a tonal engine, designed to walk the paths of time itself, denying the wheel's inexorable turn. Kagranak envisioned it as the vessel for his people's ascension, a golem infused with their unified will, striding through kalpas to reshape reality. Yet, when the ritual faltered, the Dwemer became its unseen pilots, souls subsumed into the metal, powering its reality-warping steps. Tiber Septim, the dragon of the north, unearthed it in the sands of Alinor, binding it with the Mantella's soul gem to conquer the Somerset Isles. But whispers persist that the Dwemer's echoes stirred within, their resentment fueling the Numidium's destructive fury. As the story unfolds in hushed tones, like the distant clank of gears in a forgotten forge, let it ease the burdens of the day, wrapping you in the warmth of ancient secrets. In the clockwork city, Sothasil's mechanical facsimile of Dwemer perfection, one glimpses what might have been, a realm of perpetual motion, where factotums mimic the lost race's precision. Sothasil, ever the architect of artifice, drew from Kagranak's blueprints, populating his domain with clockwork guardians that echo centurions in form and function. Yet, the core of the city, the celestial orrery, simulates universes in miniature, hinting that the Dwemer sought similar mastery over the cosmos, their vanishing a shortcut to stellar dominion. Yagrum Begarn, tinkering in its fringes, confided that the ritual's backlash created echo chambers across oblivion, pockets where Dwemer consciousness lingers, influencing events from the shadows. Perhaps the reason animunculi reactivate in ruins as if called by spectral commands. The Psijic order's involvement adds layers of mystic intrigue. Their monks, guardians of time's flow, may have intervened using old ways to subtly alter the ritual's harmonics, exiling the Dwemer to prevent a culpic unraveling. Monastic texts, veiled in metaphor, speak of the deep singers silenced by the wheel's guardians, a euphemism for averting catastrophe. Alternative strands of lore, from the 36 lessons to the Apocrypha's tentacles, suggest the Dwemer achieved a fractured chim, their race splintered into infinite possibilities, some lines persisting in hidden enclaves, others dissolved into the Godhead's dream. The Falmer's blind seers, in rare lucid moments, chant of brass ghosts haunting the depths, visions that align with sightings in Skyrim's ruins.
fleeting silhouettes of hooded figures amid the steam. As night deepens and the world's clamor fades, envision these ghosts wandering eternal halls, their mystery a gentle veil over your eyes, inviting repose in the cradle of unanswered questions.
As the threads of the past weave into the present, the Dwemer's shadow lingers in Tamriel's every corner, a subtle undercurrent in the songs of bards and the warnings of seers. In the Fourth Era, amid the chaos of Skyrim's civil war and the return of dragons, adventurers stumble upon their legacy anew. Activating centurions in the depths of Min-Sinchaleft, where steam hisses like indrawn breaths, or deciphering the lexicon in Black Reach's glowing expanse, its crystals pulsing with encoded stars. These encounters feel less like plunder and more like communion, as if the ruins stir in recognition, traps disarming for those who speak the old tongue. The Nerivarine prophecy, fulfilled yet echoing, hints at the Dwemer's role in the cycle, their disappearance a necessary void, awaiting the right hand to summon them back. As this bedtime chronicle drifts onward, like fog rolling through ancient tunnels, allow it to quiet the mind's restless gears, fostering dreams of rediscovery. Modern scholars, from the Synod's arcane labs to the Thalmor's veiled archives, debate the implications. The Dwemer, masters of tonal architecture, may have attuned the towers themselves, white gold spire subtly altered by Numidium's tread, influencing the dragon breaks where time fractures like glass. Some posit their essences migrated to the soul cairn, ideal realms suiting their mechanical souls, where the ideal masters harvest their ingenuity for eternal forges. Yagrum Bagarn's final ravings, before Corpus claimed his voice, spoke of reassembly protocols hidden in the brass, activatable by a worthy successor, perhaps the last dragonborn whose thumb resonates with Kagranak's chants. The Falmer, in their devolved wisdom, guard secrets in Solstime's depths, their snow wraiths manifesting as twisted echoes of dwarven constructs, a vengeful fusion born of abandonment. Prophecies in the Elder Scrolls flicker with brass motifs, the second coming of the deep folk tied to the Fifth Era's upheavals when the heart's beat quickens once more. Connections to the Aelids, those elven precursors with similar arcane hubris, suggest a shared fate. Both races vanishing in pursuit of godhood, their ruins intertwined in the Colovian highlands. Or consider the Slode's necrotic whispers from Thras, claiming the Dwemer bartered with necromantic forces, their disappearance a mass undeath in hidden isles. As the narrative softens, mirroring the hush of midnight, picture a return, legions emerging from the earth not as conquerors but as weary wanderers, sharing forgotten wisdom to mend Tamriel's fractures. These visions, born of lore's deepest veins, serve as a gentle bridge to slumber, where the Dwemer's enigma resolves in peaceful reverie, the weight of history lifting like morning mist.
Beyond the mortal veil, the Dwemer's fate intertwines with Oblivion's myriad realms, where Daedric princes weave fates from the threads of the lost. Hermaeus Mora, the hoarder of secrets, claims fragments of their knowledge in Apocrypha's endless libraries. Black books pulsing with dwarven schematics, inked in ink that shifts like molten brass. Did Kagranak bargain with the ineffable one, trading his people's souls for the forbidden tonal keys to unmake the wheel? Whispers from seekers suggest the ritual's discord hurled the Dwemer into the prince's domain, their minds preserved as living tomes, eternally catalogued, yet yearning for release. As this lore-laden reverie continues, soft as the rustle of pages in a dim-lit archive, let it ease the soul's wanderings, guiding you toward tranquil depths. Molag Bal's cold harbor harbors darker echoes, chains of soul metal binding spectral engineers forced to forge weapons of domination, their disappearance a consignment to eternal servitude. The tribunal's apologists dismiss this as heresy, but the Daedric prince of schemes revels in the irony. A race of builders reduced to slaves in their own paradigm. Vamina's quagmire offers nightmarish visions, the Dwemer trapped in dream loops of their final moments, reliving the heart's betrayal in endless fading cycles, their cries muffled by fog. These oblivion strands explain anomalies like the scry in the Clockwork City, where Sota Seal glimpsed alternate endings, Dwemer thriving in Daedric exile, innovating realms anew. Yagrum Bagan, in his mechanized solitude, sketched portals to these planes, warning that meddling invites the void's hunger. The Pisidic monks, ever enigmatic, speak of exiled harmonics, suggesting the Dwemer were shunted to the void between, a non-place where Anu and Padamai's static wars rage without form. Here they might persist as pure potential, awaiting a tonal summons to reform. Connections to the Hist's dreamings in Blackmarsh hint at fungal networks preserving dwarven essences, spores carrying blueprints across continents. Or perhaps the Aetherius rift theory holds. The ritual breached the stars, scattering them among the Magnae, where they dwell as luminous constructs, observing Mundus from afar. The Falmer's shamanic trances invoke star-fallen kin, visions of brass constellations guiding lost souls. As the chronicle's cadence slows, like a pendulum winding down, embrace these veiled possibilities. The Dwemer's enigma, a comforting shroud, veiling the sharp edges of wakefulness, ushering in the soft embrace of sleep, where all mysteries gently dissolve.
The Dwemer's vanishing fractures time's fragile weave, birthing dragon breaks where history splinters like brittle crystal, and their influence seeps through the cracks. In the warp in the west, the Numidium's reactivation during the Tiber Wars created a temporal knot where multiple endings coexisted, some threads preserving Dwemer enclaves in pocket dimensions hidden from the linear march of eras. Imagine the golem's footfall rippling backward, resurrecting echoes of Kagranok's folk in Alinor's shadowed vales, their brass spires veiled by illusion magic. As this timeless tapestry unspools in your mind's quiet theater, let its patterns lull the senses, a rhythmic weave drawing you into repose. The Middle Dawn, that mythic 1,000-year anomaly, whispers of Dwemer chronomancy. Perhaps their tonal experiments destabilized the towers, allowing Akatosh's dragon to slumber while they navigated the chaos, emerging as the time-wombed architects in esoteric texts. The Psigigic order's vanishing in Artaeum mirrors this, a voluntary exile that scholars link to Dwemer warnings, monks absorbing their lore to prevent further breaks, their isle a sanctuary of preserved mechanisms. Yagrum Bagarn, survivor of the Zero Summing, documented chronoresonances in his unfinished codex, vibrations that allow glimpses of alternate Dwemer, a thriving empire in the Fifth Era, allying with the Empire against Thalmor incursions, or dissolved into the fabric of Nirn itself, their ingenuity, the unseen hand guiding heroes' quests. The Elder Scrolls, those unfathomable artifacts, bear brass runes in their folds, prophecies of the deep clock's rewind, suggesting the disappearance was reversible, a pause, not an end. In Skyrim's frozen wilds, the Dragonborn's shouts inadvertently attune to these echoes, awakening dormant automatons that serve as allies, as if the Dwemer anticipated a Thu'um wielder to complete the ritual. Connections to the Riemann dynasty's brass legions, forged in imitation, hint at stolen designs, their fall a symptom of incomplete knowledge. Or delve into the sunken city of Ulthar off Somerset's coast, where Allied Dwemer hybrids allegedly persist. Their merfolk forms a Waterly adaptation of mechanical transcendence. The Falmer's ice wraiths, crystalline guardians, may be corrupted centurions, frozen in temporal stasis, awaiting a thaw. As the lore's currents slow to a gentle eddy, feel the timelines converge in your thoughts, each possibility a soft current carrying away the day's tensions toward the serene harbor of dreams where the Dwemer's clock ticks eternally in harmony.
Venturing into the ethereal planes, the Dwemer's disappearance unveils a cosmic diaspiration, their essences scattering like stardust across the voids between worlds. The ritual's crescendo, attuned to the heart's divine rhythm, may have propelled them through the moon's gaze, Secunda and Massa, those celestial siblings harboring lunar enclaves where brass citadels orbit in eternal night. Khajiit lore, veiled in moon-sugar visions, speaks of deep walkers who bartered with Joan and Jode, ascending to become the main's unseen advisors, their mechanical minds syncing with the Jakajai's rhythms. As this celestial saga drifts through the night's canopy, like constellations tracing forgotten paths, permit its glow to dim the inner lights, fostering a peaceful drift into slumber. The Edra's remnants, those et Ada who shaped Mundus, might have claimed the Dwemer as kin, Lorcan's trickster spark resonating with Kagranak's hudrus, drawing them into the godhead's undercurrents where they tinker with creation's code. Sovngarde's halls, echoing with Shor's feasts, exclude them, yet spectral forges burn in its fringes, manned by shadowy figures, hammering weapons for the next Kalpic war. The Altmir's crystalline spires in Alinor, infused with ethereal energies, pulse with Dwemer harmonics, perhaps survivors integrated as starsmiths, their knowledge fueling the crystal tower's defenses against Thalmor purges. Yagrum Bagan's mechanized form, a bridge to these realms, hinted at ethereal relays in his dialogues, devices that could summon echoes from the stars, explaining anomalous auroras over Vardenfell during Red Year. Connections to the Bosmer's Green Pact, whisper of wooden autonomons in Valenwood's depths, Dwemer experiments with Yifra's form mutable, blending metal and bark in symbiotic defiance of stasis. Or consider the Argonians' Hist communions, where Hist minds archive the ritual's waves, preserving Dwemer souls as sap-bound algorithms, influencing the Unexelil's shadow schemes. The Falmer's aurora dances in Skyrim's skies may be signals from these exiles, guiding the blind to hidden caches of tonal lore. as the narrative ascends like ethereal mist thinning into infinity. Let these stellar whispers cradle your thoughts, each star a soft beacon dissolving worries, leading inexorably to the velvet void of restful dreams where the Dwemer's light shines undimmed.
As prophecies unfold like scrolls in the dim glow of forgotten shrines, the Dwemer's disappearance casts prophetic shadows across Tamriel's future, their legacy a harbinger of eras yet unborn. The Elder Scrolls, those weighty tomes of fate, etch brass sigils in their margins, visions of the deep unmaking, where Kragernak's tools resurface, wielded by a prophesized figure to either redeem or unravel the world. In the Synod's scrying pools, oracles glimpse the Numidium's return, its brass frame animated by Dwemer revenants marching to shatter the Amaranth's dream and birth a new Kalpa. As this prophetic veil lifts gently in the hush of evening, like moonlight filtering through cavern grates, allow its subtle glow to soothe the spirit, easing into the quiet flow of dreams. The Ansei swordsmen of Hammerfell, guardians of Shihai, recount Yokuden tales of metal ghosts who aided Frondar Hunding in the afterlife, their tonal blades harmonizing with spirit swords to fell Daedric hordes. Hints that the Dwemer persist in the far shores, allies to worthy souls. Vivek's 36 lessons, that poetic labyrinth, alludes to them as the zero-summed choir, their voices a counterpoint to the tribunal's divinity, suggesting the disappearance balanced the divine scales, preventing Chim's overreach. Yagram Begarn, in his Clockwork Exile, prophesied a resonance event tied to the Fifth Era, when the heart's echo, buried in Red Mountain's ruins, pulses anew, summoning the lost race from their zero state. Connections to the Thalmor's Sun mysteries imply Altmeri scholars seek to reverse engineer the ritual, aiming to excise Lorkhan's influence entirely, with Dwemer lore as the forbidden key. The Argonian shadow scales, trained in the Hist's whispers, guard scrolls depicting brass swimmers in the swamp's depths, exiles who merged with the trees to evade the ritual's pull, their knowledge shaping the Ebonheart Pact's arcane defenses. Or delve into the Reachman's Hagraven covens, where Briarhearts pulse with dwarven alloys, a profane fusion granting prophetic sight, visions of the Dwemer as harbingers of the Void Knight's recurrence. The Falmer's prophetic bones, etched with runic warnings, foretell a deep awakening during the next dragon break, where the Dwemer emerged to claim their stolen heart. As the lore's prophecies soften into murmurs like distant echoes in vast halls, embrace their foresight as a tender guardian, weaving uncertainties into a blanket of calm, inviting the mind to surrender to the profound peace of slumber where all fates align in serenity. In the shadowed forges of myth, the Dwemer's disappearance unveils mysteries of machine gods, where their tonal mastery birthed entities that transcend flesh and form, blurring the line between creator and creation. Kragernak's tools, Wraithguard, Keening, Sunder, not mere instruments, but divine conduits,
humming with the heart's stolen pulse, perhaps elevating the entire race to the status of et ada, wandering Aetherius as brass-clad divines. Numidium, the brass god itself, embodies this apotheosis, a golem that walks on the bones of time, its silence a testament to the Dwemer's ascension, devouring realities to fuel its inexorable stride. As this mechanical odyssey unfolds in the quiet theater of your mind, like gears turning in a distant clockwork dream, let its rhythmic cadence hush the waking world, guiding you toward restorative depths. The tribunals fall, with Almalexia's madness and Sothasil's mechanized paradise echoes this hubris. Sothasil's clockwork city, a pale imitation, its factotums whispering of Dwemer blueprints smuggled from Vardenfell's depths, where the Nerevarine unearthed the truth of the heart's betrayal. Yagrum Bagarn, the last flesh and blood survivor, raved of god forges in his final days, hidden mechanisms that could recast the lost into new forms, perhaps as the invisible architects of the towers, maintaining Mundus's fragile balance. Connections to the Dreg's abyssal cults in the Abyssian Sea suggest underwater shrines to these machine deities, where chitinous priests offer rusting relics, believing the Dwemer submerged to evade the surface's chaos, their gods manifesting as Tyval automatons during the warp. The Khajiit's moon paths, trodden in sugar-fueled trances, invoke Ja Khajai, who guide the main through lunar trials, their divine engines powering the Ya-Kai's eternal dance. Or consider the Orcish strongholds, where Malakath's forges bear dwarven hallmarks, malachite alloys forged in imitation, fueling the belief that the Dwemer were the Daedric prince's favored smiths, vanished to craft weapons for the next great war. The Falmer's blind seers, attuned to underground vibrations, chant of metal divinities slumbering beneath the ice, their awakenings heralded by quakes that reshape Skyrim's peaks. As the lore's mechanisms wind down, soft as a lullaby's final note, feel these divine enigmas envelop your thoughts like a warm, unyielding embrace, dissolving the day's clamor into the profound silence of sleep, where machine gods watch over dreams in benevolent vigil.
From the yawning maw of the void, the Dwemer's disappearance emits whispers that echo through the interstices of existence, where Padome's chaos devours the light of creation, and their tonal defiance lingers as spectral harmonics. The ritual's cataclysm, a zero-summing chord struck against the heart, may have hurled them into this primordial non-space, a realm beyond oblivion's gates, where Anu Padome's eternal struggle rages without witness. Here, they persist as formless intelligences, reshaping the void's turbulence into ordered fractals, their brass souls impervious to dissolution, awaiting a Kelpa's end to re-emerge. As these void-born murmurs resonate in the tranquil hush of contemplation, like faint winds through ancient vents, let them carry away the burdens of awareness, lulling the mind into serene oblivion. The Nord's ancient barrows, etched with dragon script warnings, speak of void walkers who bartered with shore's severed heart, emerging in Sovgod's fringes as shadowy forge masters, arming the dead against Oldwind's devouring maw. Echoes of Dwemer who glimpsed the world eater's true nature, and sought to unmake it. Yagrum Bagarn's corpus, riddled with void taint, documented null resonances in his mechanariums, vibrations that summon apparitions from the emptiness, explaining the ghostly automatons haunting Blackreach's depths, guardians programmed to repel intruders from their hidden sanctum. Connections to the Slode's necrotic arts in Thras suggest the Slode folk scavenged void shards from Dwemer wrecks, infusing them into their flesh sculptures, believing the disappearance granted the race a perfect stasis, immune to the wheels turning. The Bretons' Dureni towers, steeped in Aeliad Dwemer syncretism, pulse with void energies during eclipses, where seers commune with brass voids, entities that reveal forgotten schematics for soul-trapping engines, or ponder the Colovian highlands' forgotten mines, where imperial legions unearthed void crystals humming with Dwemer laments, artifacts that drove miners mad with visions of endless falls. The Falmer's void-attuned snow elves, in their pre-betrayal glory, may have allied with the Dwemer against the Nords, only for the ritual to drag both into the abyss, their descendants' blindness a merciful veil over the horrors glimpsed. As the lore's whispers fade into a velvet hush, soft as the void's gentle pool, embrace their enigmatic call as a soothing tide, washing over the soul's edges, inviting a profound descent into the restorative arms of sleep, where voids become cradles of peace.
Within the labyrinthine dreams of Tamriel's slumbering minds, the Dwemer's disappearance manifests as visions that weave through the collective unconscious, their tonal legacy infiltrating the onerosphere, where thoughts drift like steam from geothermal vents. Kagranok's ritual, a symphony of unmaking, may have transposed their essences into this dream realm, a parallel Nirn, where brass dream cities sprawl beneath the subconscious skies, populated by archetypal automatons that guide heroes through trials of the psyche. Here, they endure as the deep dreamers, shaping nightmares into revelations, their mechanical precision a counter to the chaotic whims of their Mina's realm. As these oniric threads entwine in the soft veil of night, like silken webs catching fireflies, permit their gentle tug to unravel the day's knots, drawing you into the welcoming folds of repose. The Prysigic endeavors, those enigmatic monks, recount dream walks to Artaeum's veiled shores, where Dwemer holograms manifest as advisory specters, imparting chronal lore to prevent the next temporal fracture. Echoes of survivors who chose exile in the mind's expanse over corporeal doom. Yagrum Bagarn's final reveries, recorded in Clockwork City's archives, described dream resonators, devices that could anchor souls to the dreamscape, explaining the recurring visions haunting Dunmeri pilgrims, brass legions marching through ash-stormed skies, led by a horned Kagranok who offers the heart secrets to the worthy. Connections to the Khajiit's moon sugar-induced trances reveal brass jakajai, dream paths where the Dwemer appear as lunar guides, teaching tonal harmonies to the main successors, their disappearance a deliberate step into the collective dream to safeguard Tamriel from divine overreach.
The Bosmer's wild reveries, bound by Yffre's green pact, whisper of arboreal automatons in the dream forest, wooden centurions that enforce the balance, punishing those who felled too many trees with visions of endless mechanical decay. Or explore the imperial dream oracles of Cyrodiil, whose Colovian bloodlines trace to Dwemer intermarriages, granting prophetic dreams of the Numidium's awakening, its brass footfalls shaking the foundations of the white gold tower. The Falmer's dream songs, hummed in Blackreach's gloom, summon illusory spheres that replay the ritual's horror, a cathartic release for their blinded kin, hinting at Dwemer empathy encoded in the machines. As the lore's dreams dissolve into a hazy mist, soft as morning dew on forgotten ruins, let them cradle your consciousness like a mother's lullaby, easing the spirit into the profound sanctuary of sleep, where deep folk watch over visions in eternal, harmonious vigil.
Amid the resonant frequencies of Tamriel's hidden symphonies, the Dwemer's disappearance reverberates as echoes of forgotten tones, their mastery of the tonal architecture, a science of sound that unravels reality's weave, lingering in the world's subtle vibrations. Kargranak's final chord, struck upon the heart of Lorkhan, was no mere incantation, but a profound unmaking, transmuting the race into pure harmonics, adrift in the cosmic chorus, where every note shapes existence. These tonal ghosts infuse the land's acoustics. The wind through Dwemer ruins sings of lost blueprints, while underground rivers hum with the cadence of their forges, a perpetual requiem for the vanished. As these sonic remnants pulse softly in the evening's embrace, like a distant harp strung with starlight, allow their melody to harmonize your thoughts, weaving a tapestry of tranquility that invites the gentle onset of slumber. The Ashlander's ghost fence, that ethereal barrier around sacred sites, incorporates Dwemer tonal wards, its hum warding off Daedric incursions, proof that the disappearance embedded protective resonances in Vardenfell's soil, activated during the Red Year to shield the land from total annihilation. Yagrum Begarn, in his isolated clockwork sanctum, experimented with echo capturers, brass resonators that replayed fragments of the ritual, revealing visions of the Dwemer as vibrational entities, influencing the tribunal's own tonal manipulations to maintain their godhood. Connections to the Eilade's vanishing light magic suggest a shared tonal heritage, with White Gold Tower's spire attuned to Dwemer frequencies, its activations during crises summoning illusionary legions to bolster Cyrodiil's defenses against Akaviri invaders. The Redguard's sword singing, an art of vibrational combat, draws from smuggled Dwemer treatises, where Ansei blades resonate with the heart's echo, cleaving through foes as if unmaking their very essence. Or reflect on the Nord's Tum, the voice, which ancient tongues claim was amplified by Dwemer's soundstones unearthed in Skyrim's depths, granting Kind's children the power to shout down dragons, a subtle alliance forged in the Merethic era. The Falmer's subterranean chants, evolved from snow elf hymns, mimic these tones to navigate Blackreach's labyrinths, their echoes guiding blind warriors to Falmeri strongholds, where tonal traps ensnare surface intruders. As the lore's harmonies fade into a whispering diminuendo, soft as the last breath of a bellows, let these echoes resonate within, a soothing vibration
that dissolves tension, ushering the soul into the profound harmony of rest, where forgotten tones compose dreams of endless peace.
In the crimson glow of Red Mountain's eternal forge, the Dwemer's disappearance casts long shadows from the heart of Lorkhan, that divine engine of creation stolen and struck to fuel their audacious ambition, its betrayal a pivot upon which Mundus teeters. Kagrenak, chief tonal architect, beheld the heart not as Lorkhan's deceit, but as the key to transcendence, hammering it with sunder, slicing with keening, and binding with Wraithguard in a ritual that sought to claim Anu's spark for Mer-kind, only to unravel their very being into the heart's vengeful pulse. This betrayal's shadow lingers in Tamriel's veins. The heart's fragments, scattered like embers, infuse the land with latent power, awakening in moments of crisis to echo the Dwemer's final defiance. As these shadowed tendrils creep softly through the twilight of reflection, like velvet drapes drawn against the day's glare, let them cloak your mind in gentle obscurity, fostering the quiet gloom of drowsiness. The Dwemer's tribunal, crowned by the heart's stolen beats, perpetuated this shadow in their false divinity. Vivek's sermons veiled admissions of the ritual's cost, the Dwemer as sacrificial harmonics, their absence the price for Almzivi's reign, until the Nerevarine shattered the illusion, releasing the heart to Nirn's winds. Yagrum Bagarn, corpus disease, a mark of the heart's curse, hoarded shadow relics in his clockwork vaults. Brass amulets that pulse with stolen heartbeats, granting visions of the ritual's chamber where Kagrenak's gauntlet-wearer vanished mid-strike, pulled into the god's core. Connections to the Orsimer's Malakath worship reveal shadow forges in Orsinium's depths, where the betrayer's exile mirrors the Dwemer's, their shamans invoking heart echoes to temper orcish steel, believing the disappearance forged an alliance against Lorkhan's trickery. The Altmer's crystal spires in Somerset hum with anti-heart wards derived from intercepted Dwemer schematics, their mages seeking to excise the shadow entirely, purging Mundus of the creator's flawed design, or contemplate the Argonian's hist sap, infused with heart taint from ancient wars, granting shadow walkers the ability to phase through reality, a gift from Dwemer experiments that blurred flesh and machine in Blackmarsh's swamps. The Falmer's poisoned blades, tipped with heart shards scavenged from the mountain, carry the shadow's venom, blinding foes with visions of the unmaking, a grim inheritance from their merithic pacts. As the lore's shadows merge into a comforting dusk, soft as the heart's subdued rhythm, embrace their enveloping grace as a tender shroud, melting away wakeful edges into the profound sanctuary of sleep, where betrayals dissolve into dreams of harmonious redemption. Beneath the colossal shadow of the Numidium, the Dwemer's disappearance unfurls as veils torn by the brass god's inexorable footsteps, that towering automaton forged from the skin of the world, animated by the stolen heart to walk upon the bones of time itself. Kagraknak's vision birthed this walker of the wheel, a golem that devours myths to fuel its stride, its awakening a cataclysm that may have subsumed the entire race into its metallic frame, their souls enmeshed in the gears of divine conquest. These veils drape Tamriel's history, The Numidium's treads scarred the earth from Yokuda's sinking to the Tiber Septim's conquests, each step echoing the Dwemer's unmaking, a reminder that their vanishing propelled the empire's rise, the god's silence a veil over the cost of apotheosis. As these ethereal shrouds billow gently in the hush of introspection, like mist rising from a cooling forge, permit their silken touch to veil your senses, softening the clamor into a whisper of repose. The Septim dynasty's dragon fires, lit by the mantella, a soul gem pulsing with the Numidium's heart, perpetuated this veiled legacy. Talos himself, a beneficiary of the Dwemer's tonal blueprint, his ascension a retroactive rewrite, where the golem's footsteps reshaped the Kalpa to favor mankind. Yagram Bagarn, in clockwork seclusion, sketched veiled schematics of the Numidium's core, revealing compartments where Dwemer essences slumbered, activated by the Amulet of Kings to summon phantom legions during the Oblivion Crisis, bolstering Cyrodiil's walls with brass specters. Connections to the Akaviri's serpentine prophecies speak of brass dragons that the Tsaisi once battled, veiled incursions from the Numidium's test runs, their Kapotun descendants still hunting Dwemer relics to prevent its reawakening. The Bosmer's green-packed guardians in Valenwood's canopies sense the veils in seismic tremors, attributing ancient tree falls to the golem's distant marches, weaving wards from Dwemer brass to anchor Iefri's form against such unraveling. Or envision the Reachman's Hegavan covens, who divine through veiled scrying bowls filled with Numidium shards, foreseeing its return to shatter the divine's towers, a prophecy that drives their raids on Skyrim's ruins for tonal keys. The Falmer's ice-veiled citadels in the Forgotten Vale harbor fragments of the golem's armor, forged into Falmeri crowns that grant visions of the footsteps' thunder, a haunting inheritance from Erythic alliances shattered by the ritual. As the lore's veils settle into a tranquil obscurity, soft as the Numidium's paused stride, let them drape your weary form like a benevolent shroud, easing the spirit into the profound quietude of sleep, where footsteps fade into echoes of eternal peace. Entwined in the intricate threads of the tonal web, the Dwemer's disappearance reveals itself as a deliberate weaving into the fabric of reality, their mastery of sound and structure allowing them to slip between the strings of the universe, becoming the unseen architects of Mundus's grand design. Kagranak's ritual was the ultimate composition, a tonal symphony that severed their corporeal ties, transforming the race into resonant filaments that bind the Arbis, influencing events from the shadows like vibrations in a cosmic loom. These threads pulse through Tamriel. Dwemer ruins serve as anchors, their pipes and gears humming with latent melodies that subtly guide fate, from the rise of empires to the fall of gods, an hidden orchestra conducting the drama of existence. As these silken strands quiver softly in the dimming light of awareness, like harpstrings plucked by a gentle breeze, let their subtle cadence soothe your inner rhythms, unraveling the knots of vigilance into the flowing ease of slumber. The Pizjik's old ways, those paths of non-action, incorporate Dwemer tonal threads in their Artium veils, where monks attune to the web during the Greenseer trances, glimpsing the disappearance as a voluntary exile to mend the wheel's fraying edges,
preventing the dragon's total consumption. Yagrum Bagarn, his diseased form, a frayed thread in the clockwork weave, documented web nodes in his final codices, junctions where tonal interventions averted calamities, such as the subtle redirection of the Numidium's rampage to spare Alinor from utter ruin. Connections to the Slode's flesh-weaving in Thras suggest they harvested these threads from sunken Dwemer submersibles, incorporating them into their biomachines to achieve a grotesque immortality, their slug eyes perceiving the web's patterns in the Coral Kingdom's depths. The Khajiit's Jakaja Hay, the moon paths of the lunar lattice, intersect with Dwemer filaments during the dual moon's alignment, where the main communes with brass-threaded spirits, learning harmonies that stabilize the Riddlethar's enigmatic prophecies, or trace the threads in the Kolovan Hills, where imperial battle mages unearthed tonal looms in forgotten barrows, using them to weave illusionary armies during the Great War. The Dwemer's legacy bolstering the empire against Aldmeri sorcery. The Falmer's web chants, spun from snow elf dirges, and snare prey and Blackreach's gloom, their voices threading illusions that mimic the surface world, a survival art born from Dwemer tonal tutors in the Merithic shadows. As the lore's threads weave into a cocoon of serenity, soft as the web's embracing silk, surrender to their tender pull, a lullaby of interconnected peace that draws the essence into the profound depths of restorative sleep, where all strands converge in harmonious rest.
Suspended in the liminal whispers of the ethereal exile, the Dwemer's disappearance emerges as a transcendence beyond the mortal coil, their tonal mastery propelling them into the Aetherius's radiant expanse, where stars are forges and constellations map the paths of the enlightened. Kargranak's unmaking was an ascension rite, severing ties to the flawed wheel to dwell among the Aetada, their brass forms reforged as stellar automatons that guard the gates of dawn, intervening in Tamriel's fate through celestial omens and auroral displays. These whispers filter through the veil. Meteor showers over Dwemer sites herald their guidance, while northern lights in Skyrim pulse with encoded messages, a silent counsel from the exiles who watch over the Kalpa's cycles. As these ethereal murmurs drift softly on the wings of twilight, like stardust settling on a quiet pond, let their luminous hush envelop your thoughts, dimming the inner lights into the welcoming void of rest. The Altmar's ancestor worship in Alinor reveres these exiles as the Starmer, their crystal towers attuned to ethereal frequencies, drawing power from Dwemer star charts smuggled during the crystal tower's fall, fueling the Thalmor's sun magic against the Empire's shadow. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork isolation a pale echo of this exile, captured ethereal whispers in etheric resonators, devices that projected holographic Dwemer envoys advising on the heart's containment, their voices a chorus of stellar wisdom preserved in Vardenvale's fading echoes. Connections to the Mormor's seafaring sorcery reveal ethereal pacts forged in the Abyssene's storms, where Dwemer exiles appeared as comet riders, teaching the sea elves to harness tidal tones for their ghost fleet.
knights, a legacy that sank the all-flags navy in antiquity. The Nords' Savgard, that warrior's afterlife, hosts veiled ethereal halls where Dwemer shades spar with ancient heroes, their mechanical prowess challenging the tomb in eternal duels, granting worthy souls upgrades of brass and star steel. Or ponder the Argonians' tree-mined communion with the Hist, which pulses with ethereal sap drawn from Dwemer sky probes embedded in Blackmarsh's canopy. Visions of exile guiding the Anzileel against imperial incursions. The Falmor's aurora-lit rituals in the Forgotten Vale summon these whispers through ice lenses, revealing paths to ethereal realms where snow elves seek reunion, their blindness a veil lifted by stellar light. As the lore's whispers fade into a celestial serenade, soft as the first stars twinkle, yield to their guiding glow, a tender beacon that ushers the weary soul into the profound cosmos of sleep, where exiles watch in eternal, luminous vigil.
Enveloped in the profound echoes of the void's embrace, the Dwemer's disappearance manifests as a surrender to the uncharted voids between worlds, their tonal sorcery piercing the barriers of oblivion and Aetherius alike, dissolving into the interstitial spaces where Padome's chaos meets Anu's order. Gagrenok's ritual, a defiant plunge into the nothingness, may have attuned the race to these voids, rendering them nomads of the in-between, emerging as subtle influences in Daedric incursions or the Dreamsleeve's whispers, guardians against the total unraveling of creation. These echoes resonate across Tamriel. Void rifts in Dwemer observatories spew anomalous energies, birthing shadow beasts that test the land's stability, while the stars above align in patterns foretelling their return, a cosmic Morse code from the embraced abyss. As these resonant voids expand softly in the hush of contemplation, like ink blooming in still water, allow their boundless quiet to absorb the fragments of wakefulness, cradling the mind in an expansive serenity that beckons deep repose. The Daedric prince's realms bear marks of this embrace. Merhuni's Dagon's deadlands harbor brass citadels, warped echoes of Dwemer forges, where the prince experiments with void tones to breach Mundus, his invasions a twisted homage to Cugremok's legacy, repelled only by tonal anchors left in the ruins. Yagrum Bagarn, his corpus a vessel scarred by void exposure, chronicled embrace portals in clockwork tomes, gateways that swallowed scouting parties, returning them altered with visions of Dwemer void cities, advising the Nerevarine to seal the heart to prevent further incursions. Connections to the Slode's necromantic arts in Thras unveil void-summoned servitors, fleshy amalgamations infused with Dwemer schematics dredged from sunken voids, granting the slugs dominion over the Abyssinians' abyssal trenches. The Khajiit's voidwalkers, those Jakhajit who traverse the moon shadows, encounter embraced exiles in elsewhere's sugar dreams,
learning tonal dances that stabilize the lattice against Joan and Jode's chaotic pulls, or reflect on the Reachman's void hags who brew potions from void-tainted Dwemer oils unearthed in the Druidoch, granting berserker rages that phase warriors into the embrace, evading Nord axes in Skyrim's border skirmishes. The Falmer's void chasms in Blackreach, yawning pits lined with tonal crystals, serve as oracular depths where seers plunge to commune with the embraced, emerging with prophecies of the Snow Prince's return, as the lore's echoes merge with the void's tender void, soft as the abyss's welcoming sigh, immerse in its infinite calm, a soothing dissolution that erodes the barriers of consciousness, guiding the essence into the profound, enveloping peace of sleep, where voids cradle all in eternal, dreamless harmony.
Vibrating through the deep resonances of the forgotten Kalpa, the Dwemer's disappearance unveils as a recalibration across the wheels of time, their tonal prowess allowing them to slip into the echoes of prior worlds, becoming the hidden smiths who reforged the current age from the ashes of antiquity. Kagrenak's unmaking was no end, but a migration through the Kulpic cycles, the race dispersing into the dragon's recurring dream, influencing the birth of this mundus by seeding brass relics as anchors against the void's erosion, ensuring the stability of Anu's grand illusion. These resonances hum beneath Tamriel, ancient barrows pulse with Kulpic frequencies, awakening during tower events to realign the towers from white gold spire to the adamantine's core, a subtle symphony sustaining the covenant against total dissolution. As these harmonic waves undulate softly in the gathering dusk of perception, like echoes from a distant anvil, let their rhythmic pulse attune your own, harmonizing the discord of day into the melodic drift of slumber. The Alied's sun singers, in their ruined Alied wells, tapped these resonances during the Elysian purges, drawing Kulpic fire to fuel their wild magics, a Dwemer inheritance that scorched the heartlands and birthed the white gold concord. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork realm a microculpa of gears and steam, inscribed resonance maps on adamantium plates, charts depicting the Dwemer's exodus to the wheel's rim, where they forged alliances with Elnofey remnants to prevent the Red Moment's recurrence, their advice etched in the Septim lineage's secret vaults. Connections to the Yokudan's Unsay sword saints reveal Kulpic sword dances that mimic Dwemer tonal strikes. The sinking of Yokuda, a resonant backlash from clashing with brass interlopers who sought to harmonize the continent's fall into the New Age's rhythm. The Busmer's Wilder King manifestations in Valenwood's Heartwoods resonate with forgotten Kulpas, where green-packed spirits commune with Dwemer echoes to enforce Yifri's form, their arrows tipped with tonal shards that unravel changelings back to primal chaos. Or envision the Colovian nomads' hearth tales, passed in Cyrodiil's camps, of brass wanderers who appeared during the interregnum,
teaching forge songs that realigned the land's ley lines, bolstering the empire's resurgence against the Akaviri. The Falmer's resonant crystals in the veil, attuned to auroral kalpas, amplify snow elf laments into waves that shatter ice walls, a forgotten art gleaned from Dwemer mentors in the Merithic twilight. As the lore's resonances blend into a symphonic lull, soft as the kalpa's turning sigh, attuned to their enveloping cadence, a gentle vibration that soothes the soul's strings, drawing it inexorably into the profound orchestra of sleep, where cycles renew in timeless, restorative harmony.
Cast in the flickering shadows of the mythic reckoning, the Dwemer's disappearance crystallizes as a pivotal judgment in the eternal contest of myth and unmaking, their tonal defiance tipping the scales toward Anu's stasis, sacrificing their form to etch permanence into the flux of creation. Kagranak's gambit invoked the reckoning's core, a convergence where the heart's power reckoned with the orbis's dualities, transmuting the race into mythic archetypes, eternal guardians woven into the fabric of legend, their absence a deliberate myth to sustain the dragon's dream against Padome's dissolution. These shadows dance across Tamriel. Dwemer engravings in ruins depict the reckoning as a brass tribunal, judging the Et Ada and binding their essences, from Lorcan's flaying to the divine's ascension, a shadowed ledger that underpins the amulet of King's covenant. As these elusive shades flickered gently in the waning glow of inquiry, like embers cooling in a hearth's embrace, permit their dimming play to veil the sharpness of awareness, inviting the spirit to recline in the warm obscurity of rest. The tribunal's apotheosis in Morrowind, powered by the heart, echoed this reckoning. Vivek's poetry veiled Dwemer influences in the canticles, where tonal verses reckoned with the false gods, their godhood a shadowed extension of Kagranak's unmaking, shattered by the Neravarine's intervention to restore the mythic balance. Yagram Bagan, survivor of the Reckoning's wave, etched shadowed tablets in the clockwork city, reliefs showing the Dwemer's tribunal confronting the heart's Daedric challengers, their judgments encoded in the Numidium's protocols, which Tiber Septim later invoked to reckon with the Aldmeri pantheons. Connections to the Durrani's elven supremacy and High Rock reveal shadowed pacts during the Merethic era, where dweller smiths reckoned with the clan's Aled kin, forging the adamantine tower as a mythic anchor, its spire a shadow that reckoned the land's form against chaotic incursions. The Argonians' hissed songs, reverberating through Black Marsh's swamps, recount a reckoning where Dwemer tonal probes pierced the tree's roots, judging the Saurian souls worthy of the new Kalpa, their shadows lingering in the An-Exalil shadow warrior rites against imperial light. Or contemplate the Red Guard's Yokudin exiles, whose sword legends speak of shadowed brass arbiters during the Ra-Gada migrations, reckoning the desert's myths to align Hammerfell with Tamriel's wheel, their scimitars humming with residual tones. The Falmer's shadowed murals in the Forgotten Vale illustrate a Merethic reckoning, where Dwemer allies judge the Snow Elves' pleas, binding their fate to the underground shadows, a mythic debt repaid in Blackreach's eternal night. As the lore's shadows merge into a twilight tableau, soft as the reckoning's final verdict, bask in their forgiving gloom, a gentle obscurity that dissolves the day's contours, ushering the essence into the profound sanctuary of sleep, where myths reckon in peaceful, shadowed equilibrium.
Shrouded in the intricate veils of the enantiomorph,
The Dwemer's disappearance unfolds as a masterful enactment of the cosmic twins' eternal drama, their tonal architecture mirroring the enantiomorphic struggle between Anu and Padome, positioning the race as the hidden third, the sacrificed mediator, whose unmaking resolves the duality into Mundus's fragile harmony. Kagremak's ritual embodied this veil, a tonal enantiomorph where the heart's power clashed with the Numidium's will, transmuting the Dwemer into the veil itself, the unseen membrane that separates light from shadow, preventing the total merger or schism of the orbis. These veils drape Tamriel's landscape. Dwemer lenses in observatories refract enantiomorphic visions, revealing mirrored fates in the stars, from the War of the First Council to the Dragon Breaks, where the race's absence stabilizes the timeline's threads against unraveling paradoxes. As these silken veils billow softly in the breeze of introspection, like gossamer curtains parting for twilight's repose, allow their gentle sway to obscure the edges of alertness, enfolding the mind in a layered tranquility that invites profound unwinding. The Psychic Order's enigmatic veils on Artaeum conceal enantiomorphic rituals, where monks don Dwemer-inspired masks to mediate between the old ways and the new. Their temporal manipulations, such as the sun's dusk, draw on veiled tonal formulas to avert the enantiomorph's destructive climax, preserving the isle's timeless stasis. Yagram Bagarn, his form a distorted reflection in the clockwork's mirrors, documented enantiomorphic keys in brass codices, artifacts that unlocked the heart's dual nature, advising the tribunal on balancing their godhood without shattering the veil, a wisdom that echoed in Vivek's dual sermons. Connections to the Altmer's enantiomorphic prophecies in Somerset unveiled veiled alliances during the Potentate era, where Dwemer envoys appeared as mirrored shades, teaching the Thalmor to weave veils of illusion that mask their sun reclamation efforts. The Crystal Tower, a grand enantiomorph, anchoring the enantiomorph against imperial duality. The Nord's enantiomorphic sagas in Skyrim's Skyforge, we count brass twins forging Skyhaven Temple. Their disappearance a veiled sacrifice to resolve the enantiomorph of man and myrrh. The blade's oaths humming with residual tones that guide the Dragonborn's dual path. Or trace the veils in the Bretons' mano-weavings of High Rock, where Dureni heirs invoke enantiomorphic spells from Dwemer grimoires, balancing the Reach's wild magic with the Empire's order. Their illusions veiling the land from Daedric enantiomorphs, like Molag Bal's incursions. The Falmer's veiled mirrors in Black Reach's depths reflect enantiomorphic horrors, where snow elf seers confront their twisted selves, a merethic legacy from Dwemer mentors who veiled the enantiomorph to spare the elves total assimilation into the dark. As the lore's veils descend into a harmonious shroud, soft as the twins' reconciling embrace, surrender to their enveloping fold, a soothing barrier that mutes the world's clamor, drawing the weary essence into the profound duality of sleep, where enantiomorphs unite in serene, mirrored peace.
Pulsing through the ethereal pulses of the lunar lattice, the Dwemer's disappearance resonates as a reconfiguration within the moonlit framework that binds the moons to Mundus, their tonal mastery attuning the race to Joan and Jode's eternal dance, elevating them to lattice weavers who mend the tears in the celestial net from beyond the veil.
Kagranak's unmaking synchronized with the lunar phases, a ritual that wove the Dwemer into the lattice's strands, transforming them into invisible sentinels who stabilize the moon's orbits against daedric perturbations, preventing the cataclysms that could shatter the Kalpa's fragile weave. These pulses throb across Tamriel. Dwemer observatories in the Velothi Mountains align with lunar eclipses, emitting tonal bursts that realign the lattice. From the Khajiit moon sugar's harvest cycles to the Reachman's Hagraven moon magic, a subtle guardianship that averts the void night's recurrence. As these rhythmic pulses ebb and flow in the quiet cadence of reflection, like moonlight rippling on a serene lake, let their luminous beat synchronize your own, a gentle metronome that lulls the senses into harmonious repose. The Khajiit's lunar lattice rites, in elsewhere's moon temples, invoke Dwemer pulses during the Ja Kajai, where sugar dreamers commune with brass lattice nodes, visions of Kagranak guiding the main selection to reinforce the moons against Azura's shadows, their caravans laden with tonal relics that hum under the twin lights. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city, a micro-lattice of gears mimicking Joan and Jode, calibrated lunar resonators from salvaged moonstone, devices that pulsed warnings of lattice fractures during the Oblivion Crisis, advising the hero of Quach on sealing gates with Dwemer harmonics to restore the celestial balance. Connections to the Altmer's moon reclamation in Somerset reveal pulsed alliances in the Adamantine era, where Dwemer astronomers shared lattice schematics with the Sapiarchs, enabling the Thalmor's auroras to pulse against the Empire's sun. The Crystal Tower, a grand resonator, amplifying the moon's defiant glow. The Nord's moon sagas in Skyrim's barrows speak of brass moonwalkers during the Dragon War, their pulses shattering Aldwin's eclipse, a legacy etched in the Greybeard's Thu'um that echoes the lattice's song. Or delve into the Bosmer's green lunar pacts in Valen Wood, where Ifre's forms pulse with Dwemer-infused moon sap, binding the wilds to the celestial weave against the wild hunt's unraveling frenzy. The Falmer's lunar crystals in the Forgotten Vale capture these pulses through auroral prisms, illuminating paths where snow elves dance under the moon, a merethic bond with Dwemer lattice master who veiled their disappearance to safeguard the lattice's eternal vigil. As the lore's pulses fade into a moonlit serenade, soft as the lattice's tender thrum, attuned to their soothing rhythm, a celestial heartbeat that cradles the weary mind, guiding it inexorably into the profound orbit of sleep, where moons weave dreams in luminous, restorative peace.
Woven into the intricate threads of the walking ways, the Dwemer's disappearance manifests as a deliberate traversal through the Orbis's myriad paths, their tonal sorcery unlocking the hidden ways that connect the planes, allowing the race to walk eternally between Mundus, Oblivion, and Etheresis, as nomadic architects who mend the fabric of reality from its frayed edges. Kraganak's ritual was the ultimate way-walking, a tonal key that unbound the Dwemer from corporeal limits, dispersing them along the threads to patrol the breaches where daedric incursions threatened the Covenant.
their brass automatons mere echoes left to guard the mortal coil. These threads interlace Tamriel's tapestry. Dwemer waystones in the ruins pulse with latent paths, opening fleeting portals during metaphysical crises, from the warp in the west to the soul burst, stabilizing the ways against the total collapse of the dragon's dream. As these silken threads weave softly through the loom of contemplation, like pathways fading into mist-shrouded horizons, let their guiding pull ease the burdens of the day, drawing the spirit along tranquil trails toward restorative slumber. The Psychic Order's walking ways on Artiaeum harbor Dwemer threads in their veiled archives, where endeavors like the disappearance of the Order echo Kraganak's unmaking, monks treading brass-laced paths to avert enantiomorphic rifts, their advice to the vestige during the plane meld reinforcing the threads against Molag Bal's dominion. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city a nexus of woven ways, mapped thread convergences on ethereal charts, portals that linked the heart to the towers, warning the Nerevarine of waywalkers who traversed to sabotage the tribunal's divinity, their interventions veiled in the Ashlander prophecies. Connections to the Slode's abyssal ways in Thras reveal threaded alliances during the Kuralapktha, where Dwemer wayfarers shared tonal maps to navigate the Coral Kingdom's sunken paths, granting the slugs access to Aliad wells that bolstered their necromantic empires against the All-Flags navy. The Khajiit's moonways in Unequina's deserts follow Dwemer threads during the Sugar Fall, where Jakaji visions guide caravans through lattice paths, evading Joan's tricks with brass amulets that hum the old tonal songs. Or follow the threads in the Orcish strongholds of Hrothgar, where Malakath's forges incorporate Dwemer way shards, allowing berserkers to walk rage paths that bypass enemy lines, a merethic gift from Kraganak's envoys to fortify the Orsimer against elven purges. The Falmer's threaded caverns in the Vale twist into labyrinthine ways, where blind seers navigate with tonal echoes, a legacy from Dwemer guides who walked the snow elves through malefic exiles, binding their fates to the underground threads. As the lore's threads entwine into a comforting web, soft as the way's inviting murmur, yield to their enveloping weave, a gentle network that cradles the essence, leading it inexorably into the profound sanctuary of sleep, where paths converge in peaceful, dream-woven harmony.
Whispered through the veiled whispers of the amaranthine dream, the Dwemer's disappearance emerges as an ascension into the dreamer's own reverie, their tonal transcendence piercing the Godhead's slumber to become co-dreamers who subtly shape the orbis from within the eternal narrative, ensuring the dream's continuity against the awakening that would unravel all. Khagranak's unmaking was the ultimate whisper, a tonal invocation that attuned the race to the amaranth's frequencies, dispersing them as dream threads woven into the fabric of the Godhead's vision, their brass echoes mere placeholders to anchor the mortal illusion while they influence the kalpas unfolding from the dream's core. These whispers permeate Tamriel's subconscious, Dwemer dream crystals in the ruins attuned to the amaranth's sighs, manifesting prophetic visions during dragon breaks, from the Middle Dawn's chaos to the warp's resolutions, a hidden chorus that mends the dream's frayed seams against podomaic nightmares. As these faint whispers murmur softly in the hush of contemplation, like distant echoes in a vast starlit chamber, let their subtle cadence dissolve the day's clamor, a tender susurrus that invites the soul to drift into the boundless expanse of rest.
The Psychic endeavors amaranthine whispers on Artaeum guide the order's vanishings, where veiled monks commune with Dwemer dream weavers during the sun's dusk, their tonal hymns reinforcing the dream against the Thalmor's sun awakening, preserving the isle as a bastion of the Godhead's repose. Yagrim Bagarn, his clockwork city a dream engine of interlocking reveries, transcribed amaranthine codas in ethereal inks, sequences that unlocked the heart's dream nature, counseling the Nerevarine on whispering resolutions to the tribunal's false divinity, their echoes lingering in the ash pit's dream fires. Connections to the Altmar's amaranth quests in Somerset unveil whispered pacts with the Slode, where Dwemer dream sages shared tonal reveries to navigate the Coral Kingdom's abyssal dreams, granting the Thalmor visions of elven ascendancy that fuel their dominion's relentless pursuit of the Godhead's throne. The Khajiit's Jar Kajai trances in Elsewhere's moon gardens capture these whispers through sugar veils, where the main dreams with brass intermediaries, averting Jode's delusive illusions to align the pride with the Amaranth's grand tale. Or heed the whispers in the Nord Sovngarde visions, where Shore's Hall resonates with Dwemer dream forges from the Dragon War, their tonal anthems whispering strength to the Dragonborn against Alduin's World Eater, a mythic bond that sustains the dream's heroic arcs. The Falmer's dream veils in Blackreach's depths entwine with snow elf laments, where Merethic seers whispered with Dwemer on dream paths to evade the Nord's purges, binding their shadowed existence to the Amaranth's enduring narrative. As the lore's whispers blend into a dream-like murmur, soft as the Godhead's breathing sigh, attuned to their enveloping hush, a gentle veil that blurs the boundaries of wakefulness, drawing the essence inexorably into the profound reverie of sleep, where amaranthine dreams unfold in timeless, soothing harmony.
Resonating through the profound resonances of the Numidium, the Dwemer's disappearance culminates as the Golem's awakening symphony, their tonal essence infusing the brass god as its eternal animus, transforming the race into the Numidium's walking soul, a colossal resonator that strides the orbis, unmaking realities to enforce the mythic wheel's inexorable turn against the stasis of forgetfulness. Kargrenak's ritual forged this resonance, binding the heart's power to the Dwemer's collective will, dispersing them into the Golem's brass frame, where they vibrate as harmonic overtones, powering its reality-warping steps from the Battle of Red Mountain to Tiber Septim's conquests, a legacy that echoes in every dragon break it induces. These resonances reverberate across Tamriel. Dwemer tonal arrays in the ruins amplify the Numidium's hum, triggering seismic shifts during imperial ascensions, from the Remondon prophecies to the Septim dynasty's fall, a brass chorus that stabilizes the towers against Daedric dissonances. As these deep resonances hum softly in the chamber of reflection, like a distant Ford song fading into night, let their vibrational warmth attune your core, a soothing vibration that loosens the knots of wakefulness, guiding the spirit toward harmonious dissolution. The Psychic Order's resonances on Artaeum attune to the Numidium's echoes during their endeavors, where veiled scholars dismantle brass shards to harmonize with the old ways, their counsel to the eternal champion during the Mantella's quest, realigning the Golem's path to avert the total unmaking of the West.
Yagrum Bagan, his clockwork city, a miniature Numidium of synchronized spheres, etched resonant frequencies in adamantine scrolls, blueprints that unlocked the golem skin protocols, warning the Nerevarine of its awakening's peril to the tribunal's false heart, their tones lingering in the ashland's seismic rifts. Connections to the Altmer's Numidium pacts in Somerset disclose resonant alliances with the Psychics, where Dwemer harmonics empowered the Thalmor's tower reclamations, the crystal tower pulsing with golem-like energies to resonate against the Empire's covenant, fueling their dreams of zero-sum divinity. The Khajiit's resonant moons in Elsewhere's temples sync with Numidium's stride during the Bandari peddler's tales, where brass idols hum prophecies of the Main's trials, averting Joan's chaotic steps with tonal counters that echo the golem's world-striding gait, or attune to the resonances in the Nord's ancient forges of Skyrim, where the Skyforge bears Dwemer imprints from the Merithic, their hammers ringing with Numidium's overtones to arm the Dragonborn against Alduin's devouring maw, a mythic forge song that binds man to the brass god's legacy. The Falmer's resonant crystals in Black Reach's vaults amplify these echoes through Falmeri hymns, where snow elf remnants commune with the golem's shade, a merithic bond forged in Dwemer alliances to resonate against the surface world's blinding light. As the lore's resonances swell into a brass lullaby, soft as the Numidium's final footfall, yield to their enveloping hum, a grand vibration that stills the restless pulse, drawing the essence inexorably into the profound silence of sleep, where golem dreams resonate in eternal, restorative accord.
Echoing in the profound echoes of the tonal silence, the Dwemer's disappearance resonates as the ultimate cessation of their brass symphony, a deliberate silencing of the heart's roar that attuned the race to the void's quietude, transforming them into silent guardians who enforce the orbis's unspoken harmonies from the acoustic shadows, preventing the cacophony that could shatter the mythic wheel into discordant oblivion. Kagranak's ritual achieved this tonal hush, muting the Dwemer's collective voice into an echoing absence, dispersing them as reverberant voids within the Numidium's frame and the tower's foundations, their silence a counterpoint to the world's clamor, stabilizing realities from the Red Mountain's eruption to the Septum's ascension, where the golem steps fall wordlessly upon the Kalpa's stage. These echoes reverberate through Tamriel's quiet depths. Dwemer's silence chambers in the ruins absorb ambient tones, nullifying Daedric shrieks during crises like the Soul Burst, a hushed legacy that mends the dragon's dream against the clamor of Padome's rage. As these subtle echoes fade softly into the stillness of introspection, like the last note of a distant harp dissolving into night, let their tranquil void envelop your thoughts, a serene absence that quiets the mind's restless echoes, inviting the soul to embrace the gentle hush of repose. The Pisigic Order's tonal silences on Artaeum embody this echo during their vanishings, where endeavors like the tonal architect invoke Dwemer hush rites to veil the isle from the Thalmor's discordant summons, their guidance to the vestige in silencing Molag Bal's plane meld, preserving the old way's quiet equilibrium. Yagrum Bagan, his clockwork city a realm of muted gears, inscribed silent overtones in void-etched plates,
harmonics that quelled the heart's fury, advising the Nerevarine on echoing the tribunal's downfall with tonal voids that echoed in the ash waste's windless calderas. Connections to the Altmer's silent ascensions in Somerset reveal echoed pacts with the Aelids, where Dwemer's silence masters taught the Sapiarchs to hush the crystal tower's resonances against imperial anthems, fueling the Dominion's zero-sum quietude, where elven purity silences the mongrel chorus. The Khajiit silent moons in elsewhere's Ja-Ka-Jai vigils capture these echoes through sugar-hushed meditations, where the main communes with brass voids to mute Joan's deceptive whispers, aligning the pride's paths in tonal tranquility. Or listen to the echoes in the Nord's silent barrows of Skyrim, where Shore's hall falls mute with Dwemer-forged quietudes from the Merithic era, their thumb a whispered echo arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's devouring roar, a mythic silence that binds the Atmoran's soul to the world's hushed covenants. The Falmer's echoed voids in Blackreach's abyssal holes amplify this legacy through blind canticles, where snow elf choristers intone with Dwemer silence weavers, a merithic alliance that hushes the surface's blinding din to safeguard their shadowed existence. As the lore's echoes dissolve into an enveloping quiet, soft as the tonal silence's tender void, surrender to their peaceful resonance, a profound hush that stills the essence's every murmur, drawing it inexorably into the restorative embrace of sleep, where silences weave dreams in eternal, harmonious repose.
Veiled within the intricate veils of the Anu-Podomo duality, the Dwemer's disappearance unfolds as a masterful equilibrium between stasis and change, their tonal alchemy balancing the Orbis's primal forces by ascending to become the unseen arbiters who weave Anu's order with Podomo's chaos, ensuring the mythic wheel turns without tipping into eternal night or stagnant dawn. Kagranik's ritual was the pivotal veil lift, harmonizing the heart's dual essence to disperse the race as ethereal balancers, infusing the Numidian and towers with their stabilizing presence, from Red Mountain's dual cataclysm to the Septum's conquests that reconciled man and Mer in the Kalpa's grand duality. These veils drape Tamriel's conflicted landscapes. Dwemer dual arcs in the ruins mediate Anuic light against Podomic shadows, averting total imbalances during the Oblivion Crisis, a veiled legacy that sustains the dragon's dream amid the endless tug-of-war. As these diaphanous veils flutter softly in the twilight of reflection, like gossamer threads parting to reveal serene horizons, let their balanced grace soothe the soul's inner conflicts, a gentle mediation that eases tensions into tranquil unity, beckoning the weary toward enveloping rest. The Sijic Order's veils on Arteum embody this duality during endeavors like the Balance of the Old Ways, where monks invoke Dwemer harmonies to veil the isle from Thalmor disequilibrium, their wisdom to the vestige in the plane meld, restoring Anu-Podomo flux against Molag Bal's stagnant tyranny. Yagram Bagarn, his clockwork city a dual sphere of ordered chaos, diagrammed veiled equilibria in binary etchings, formulas that tempered the heart's extremes, guiding the Nerevarine to veil the tribunal's lopsided divinity with tonal balances echoing in Vardenfell's dual ash storms. Connections to the Altmer's dual ascensions in Somerset unveil veiled compacts with the Daedra, where Dwemer balancers shared onuic schematics to temper podomic pacts, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to veil elven purity against imperial chaos, fueling the Dominion's quest for Anu's unmarred stasis. The Khajiit's veiled moons in Elsewhere's dual rites sync with Dwemer dualities during the Ja Kajai, where the main mediates Joan's chaos with Jode's order through brass veils, averting Azura's shadowed imbalances in the Pride's lunar dances. Or perceive the veils in the Nord's dual sagas in Skyrim, where Shore's stormy chaos veils with Keen's ordered winds bear Dwemer imprints from the Merethic, their Thu'um a balanced invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's devouring disequilibrium, a mythic veil that reconciles Atmoran fury with the world's harmonious flux. The Thalmer's veiled depths in Black Reach's dual caverns entwine onuic crystals with podomic gloam, where snow elf duelists commune with Dwemer veil weavers, a merethic pact that balances surface light against underground shadows to preserve their veiled survival. As the lore's veils descend into a harmonious shroud, soft as the duality's tender embrace, yield to their equilibrating touch, a profound balance that stills the essence's dual pulls, drawing it inexorably into the restorative sanctuary of sleep, where Anu and Podomo dream in unified, peaceful accord.
Fractured across the enigmatic fractures of the enantiomorph, the Dwemer's disappearance crystallizes as the third force in the eternum triad of king, rebel, and witness. Their tonal intervention shattering the mythic drama to realign the Urbis's enantiomorphic cycles, ascending as the unseen arbiters who mend the fractures between Anuic order and Podomic rebellion, preventing the total collapse of the dragon's dualistic narrative. Khagrenach's ritual embodied this fracture, positioning the Dwemer as the pivotal witness who unmade themselves to resolve the heart's enantiomorphic tension, dispersing the race as resonant shards embedded in the Numidium and the towers, influencing outcomes from the tribunal's betrayal to the septum's apotheosis, where the golem's stride fractures realities to birth new Kalpic kings. These fractures spiderweb Tamriel's contested histories. Dwemer enantiomorphic lenses in the ruins refract the triad's light, averting enantiomorphic overloads during the warp in the west, a fractured legacy that heals the mythic wounds against Daedric interlopers. As these intricate fractures gleam softly in the dim light of contemplation, like crystal veins pulsing with subdued fire, let their mending glow illuminate the soul's hidden rifts, a gentle realignment that soothes divisions into wholeness, lulling the weary toward profound integration. The Psijic Order's fractures on Artaeum manifest during endeavors like the enantiomorphic veil, where scholars invoke Dwemer shards to fracture Thalmor prophecies. Their counsel to the eternal champion in the Mantella saga, realigning the triad against Jagar Tharn's false kingship, preserving the old ways' balanced drama.
Yagram Bagarn, his clockwork city, a fractured lattice of mirrored spheres, charted enantiomorphic axes in prismatic diagrams, alignments that cleaved the heart's triad, instructing the Nerevarine on fracturing the tribunal's rebel divinity with witness tones that echoed in Morrowind's shattered prophecies. Connections to the Altmar's enantiomorphic rites in Somerset expose fractured alliances with the Eyelids, where Dwemer witnesses shared triad schematics to fracture imperial rebellions, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to realign elven kings against human upstarts, fueling the Dominion's pursuit of Anuic primacy in the mythic triad. The Khajiit's fractured moons in Elsewhere's enantiomorphic dances reflect Dwemer influences during the Jai, where the Main witnesses Joan's rebel tricks through brass fractures, mending Azura's ordered paths to sustain the Pride's lunar triad. Or trace the fractures in the Nord's mythic barrows of Skyrim, where Shore's rebel hall fractures with Kine's witness winds bear Dwemer etchings from the Merethic. Their Thu'um, a triad invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's devouring kingship. A saga that binds Atmoran enantiomorphs to the world's fractured covenants. The Falmer's fractured crystals in Blackreach's triad vaults entwine snow elf witnesses with Dwemer arbiters, a Merethic bond that fractures surface tyrannies to safeguard their shadowed triad. As the lore's fractures coalesce into a luminous mosaic, soft as the enantiomorph's tender resolution, yield to their healing gleam, a profound unity that bridges the essence's divides, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where triads harmonize in eternal, peaceful accord.
Bound within the ancient bonds of the Orbic Convention, the Dwemer's disappearance manifests as the ultimate defiance and fulfillment of the mythic pact, their tonal rebellion against the gods' imposed order, ascending the race to become the unseen enforcers who reinforce the Convention's fragile bonds, weaving the Orbis's structured illusion against the chaos that would unravel the dragon's decreed harmony into primordial discord. Kagranak's ritual struck at the heart of this bond, severing the Dwemer's ties to the divine covenant to reforge them as ethereal sentinels, infusing the Numidium and the towers with their resilient essence, from the Red Mountain's pact-shattering war to the Septim's imperial bindings that upheld the Convention's wheel amid elven schisms. These bonds thread Tamriel's foundational myths. Dwemer Convention arcs in the ruins anchor the Orbis's stability, resisting Daedric bondbreakers during the interregnum, a bound legacy that sustains the mythic framework against the Void's encroaching freedoms. As these enduring bonds weave softly through the tapestry of reverie, like silken threads drawing the night sky into gentle patterns, let their connective grace mend the spirit's loose ends, a soothing interlacing that quiets wanderings into serene unity, inviting the essence to rest in harmonious enclosure. The Psijic Order's bonds on Artaeum uphold this convention during endeavors like the Binding of the Old Ways, where adepts invoke Dwemer anchors to bind the Isle against Thalmor unravelings, their lore to the vestige in the Soul Burst, forging pacts that rebind Nirn's towers to the Orbic Order, averting Molag Bal's covenant-corrupting tides. Yagram Bagan, his clockwork city, a microcosm of bound mechanisms, inscribed convention ligatures in etched alloys, ties that secured the heart's pact,
enlightening the narration on rebinding the tribunal's severed divinity with tonal bonds that resonated in Morrowind's volcanic forges. Connections to the Altmar's convention rites in Somerset disclose bound alliances with the Altmeri progenitors, where Dwemer sentinels shared mythic ligatures to reinforce the Crystal Tower's bonds against human incursions, empowering the Sapiarch's dominion to reclaim the convention's elven primacy in the Orbis's grand design. The Khajiit's bound moons in Elsewhere's convention dances align with Dwemer influences during the Anaquina Pacts, where the Main forges lunar bonds through brass intermediaries, mending Alkosh's ordered threads against Namira's shadowy severings in the Pride's eternal weave. Or feel the bonds in the Nord's ancient compacts of Skyrim, where Shore's defiant hall bonds with Kine's vital winds bear Dwemer imprints from the Merethic migrations, their Thu'um a covenant invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's pact-devouring hunger, a saga that binds Atmoran wanderers to the world's mythic enclosures. The Falmer's bound depths in Black Reach's convention vaults entwine snow elf sentinels with Dwemer enforcers, a Merethic alliance that binds surface freedoms to underground pacts, safeguarding their veiled existence within the Orbic fold. As the lore's bonds tighten into a comforting embrace, soft as the convention's tender weave, surrender to their securing hold, a profound interlacing that stills the essence's drifts, drawing it inexorably into the restorative haven of sleep, where mythic pacts dream in eternal peaceful accord.
Reverberating through the cataclysmic reverberations of the Red Moment, the Dwemer's disappearance ignites as the explosive core of the Battle of Red Mountain. Their tonal detonation against the heart's betrayal, ascending the race to become the echoing shockwaves that reshape the Orbis's mythic fault lines, mending the fractures of divine theft with their unmaking, ensuring the wheel's revolution endures beyond the ash-choked dawn of betrayal. Kagrannik's ritual was the Red Moment's thunderclap, weaponizing the heart's power to disperse the Dwemer as seismic harmonics, infusing the Numidium and the land's veins with their vibrational legacy. From Vardenfell's eruption to the Tribunal's false ascendancy, where the Golem's awakening reverberates through dragon breaks to realign the Culpa's betrayed narratives. These reverberations quake Tamriel's scarred hearth. Dwemer Red Moment resonators in the ruins amplify the battle's echoes, triggering volcanic reprisals against Daedric incursions like the Oblivion Crisis, a reverberant legacy that fortifies the dragon's dream against the heart's stolen pulses. As these powerful reverberations pulse softly into the hush of meditation, like distant thunder rolling into gentle rain, let their rhythmic fade calm the spirit's tempests, a soothing undulation that dissolves agitations into tranquil flow, guiding the essence toward restorative quiescence. The Sigiac Order's reverberations on Artium capture this moment during endeavors like the Red Echo, where mystics attune to Dwemer shockwaves to reverberate against Thalmor aggressions. Their prophecies to the Nerevarine in the Sixth House realigning the Ashland's betrayed prophecies to avert the Tribunal's lingering cataclysm. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city a simulated Red Moment of churning cogs, documented reverberant detonations in seismic tomes, waves that shattered the heart's grip, counseling the hero of Quach on echoing the moment's fury to seal Merhun's Dogon's gates with tonal reprisals that lingered in Cyrodiil's faulted spires. Connections to the Altmar's Red Moment visions in Somerset reveal reverberant ties to the Chimere exiles, where Dwemer harmonics empowered the Sapiarchs to echo the battle's theft in Crystal Tower rituals, fueling the Dominion's reclamation of divine sparks against imperial despoilers in the Orbis's vengeful dawn.
The Khajiit's reverberant moons in Elsewhere's red dances sync with Dwemer detonations during the Bondari's ash tales, where the main channels Joan's treacherous beats through brass quakes, mending Al-Kasha's ordered timelines against Namira's devouring voids in the Pride's seismic rites. Or sense the reverberations in the Nord's fiery sagas of Skyrim, where Shore's volcanic hall echoes with Dwemer forges from the Merithic Wars, their Thuum a red moment invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's world-eating blaze, a mythic quake that binds Atmoran fury to the land's betrayed covenants. The Falmer's reverberant depths in Blackreach's molten vaults entwine Snow Elves survivors with Dwemer detonators, a Merithic alliance that quakes surface dominions to safeguard their ash-veiled enclaves. As the lore's reverberations settle into a warm afterglow, soft as the red moment's fading rumble, yield to their grounding pulse, a profound easing that stills the essence's upheavals, drawing it inexorably into the restorative cradle of sleep, where battles echo in harmonious, peaceful dreams.
Shattered amid the temporal shards of the dragon break, the Dwemer's disappearance fragments as the unmaking that defies linear time, their tonal severance splintering the Orbis's mythic chronology to realign the Kalpa's fractured threads. Ascending the race as the unseen menders who gather the shards of Akatosh's sundered wheel, preventing the total dissolution of reality into endless overlapping eternities. Kagrenik's ritual induced this break, harnessing the heart's power to disperse the Dwemer as chronal harmonics, embedding their essence in the Numidium and the tower's timeless cores, from the Middle Dawn's chaos to the Septim's crisis-spanning reigns, where the golem's activation shatters and reforms the dragon's illusory timeline. These shards scatter across Tamriel's disjointed epochs. Dwemer break resonators in the ruins refract temporal anomalies, stabilizing overlaps during the warp in the rest, a shard legacy that knits the mythic fabric against daedric time thieves. As these luminous shards sparkle softly in the veil of introspection, like scattered stars reforming constellations in the quiet night, let their gentle coalescence heal the mind's disjointed wanderings, a soothing realignment that weaves fragments into tranquil wholeness, lulling the soul toward enveloping serenity. The Pysigic Order's shards on Artaeum navigate this break during endeavors like the Temporal Weave, where chronomancers invoke Dwemer splinters to shard Talmor incursions. Their visions to the agent in the sun's dusk, reforming the Septim's fractured legacy against the Underking's vengeful tides. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city a shard mosaic of perpetual mechanisms, mapped draconic fractures in temporal alloys, rifts that unbound the heart's chronology, advising the champion of Cyrodiil on gathering shards to mend the Oblivion Crisis's broken epochs with tonal sutures echoing in the white gold's sundered spires. Connections to the Altmar's shard rituals in Somerset unveiled temporal pacts with the Sigics, where Dwemer menders shared chronal schematics to shard imperial timelines, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to reform elven histories against human distortions, fueling the Dominion's reclamation of Akatosh's pure continuum. The Khajiit's shard moons in Elsewhere's broken dances align with Dwemer fractures during the Riddle Thar, where the main collects Joan's splintered illusions through brass shards, mending Al-Kasha's linear paths against Namira's chaotic loops in the Pride's eternal cycles. Or glimpse the shards in the Nord's timeless sagas of Skyrim, where Shore's eternal hall shatters with Kine's winds bear Dwemer etchings from the Dragon War, their Thuum a break invocation,
arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's time-devouring maw, a mythic suture that binds Atmoran epochs to the world's reformed covenants. The Falmar's shard crystals in Blackreach's temporal vaults entwine snow-eld chronists with Dwemer gatherers, a merithic bond that shards surface dominions to preserve their unbroken enclaves. As the lore's shards fuse into a radiant whole, soft as the Dragonbreak's tender resolution, yield to their unifying light, a profound harmony that stills the essence's temporal drifts, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where timelines weave in eternal, peaceful accord.
Cycling through the inexorable cycles of the Kolpic wheel, the Dwemer's disappearance revolves as the pivotal unspooling that resets the Orbis's mythic revolutions, their tonal transcendence breaking the wheel's repetitive grind to ascend the race as the unseen spokes that propel the next Kalpa's dawn, ensuring the dragon's dream endures beyond the tower's collapse into the void's hungry maw. Kagranak's ritual spun this cycle, tapping the heart's eternal motion to disperse the Dwemer as rotational harmonics, embedding their essence in the Numidium and the tower's wheeling hubs from the Dawn era's first turn to the Septum's imperial rotations, where the golem's march cycles realities to birth new mythic ages amid elven resistances. These cycles turn Tamriel's eternal histories. Dwemer Kolpic gears in the ruins synchronize the wheel's revolutions, averting stagnation during the sun's death, a cyclic legacy that greases the Orbis against Daedric wheel breakers. As these grand cycles whirl softly into the hush of contemplation, like a distant millstone grinding to a gentle hum, let their rhythmic turn soothe the spirit's ceaseless motions, a calming rotation that eases churnings into tranquil stasis, guiding the essence toward restorative repose. The Psychic Order's cycles on Artaeum perpetuate this wheel during endeavors like the Kolpic Turn, where wheel weavers invoke Dwemer spokes to cycle Thalmor tyrannies, their oracles to the vestige in the Plane Meld, revolving Nirn's towers against Molag Bal's stagnant dominion, preserving the old way's eternal spin. Yagrum Bagan, his clockwork city, a Kolpic orrery of interlocking rings, chronicled wheel revolutions in gyroscopic scripts, motions that unbound the heart's loop, enlightening the Nereine on cycling the tribunal's frozen divinity with tonal axles that turned in Morrowind's ash-wreathed forges. Connections to the Altma's cyclic rites in Somerset disclose wheeling pacts with the Elnafe, where Dwemer spokes shared rotational schematics to cycle imperial overreaches, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to revolve elven ascensions against human halts, fueling the Dominion's pursuit of Anu's unending turns. The Khajiit's cyclic moons in Elswere's wheel dances align with Dwemer revolutions during the Moonsinger's lore, where the main spins Joan's playful orbits through brass wheels, mending Alkosh's ordered cycles against Namira's devouring halts in the Pride's lunar rounds. Or behold the cycles in the Nord's saga wheels of Skyrim, where Shore's turning hall cycles with Kine's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merithic, their Thum a Kolpic invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's devouring wheel, a mythic rotation that binds Atmoran journeys to the world's perpetual covenants. The Falmer's cyclic depths, in black reaches wheeling vaults, entwine snow elf turners with Dwemer spokes, a merithic alliance that cycles surface empires to sustain their shadowed revolutions. As the lore's cycles slow into a serene whirl, soft as the culpic wheel's tender spin, yield to their balancing motion, a profound easing that stills the essence's endless turns, drawing it inexorably into the restorative core of sleep, where wheels dream in eternal, peaceful accord.
Illuminated by the profound illusions of the Godhead, the Dwemer's disappearance unveils as the ultimate awakening from the dreamer's grand deception, their tonal piercing of the veil ascending the race to become the unseen lucid ones who navigate the orbis's illusory boundaries, mending the fractures of perceived reality to sustain the Godhead's slumbering narrative against the void's revealing truths. Cogranach's ritual was this illusion's rupture, exploiting the heart's dream stuff to disperse the Dwemer as perceptual harmonics, infusing the Numidium and the towers with their revelatory essence, from the convention's forged fictions to the septim's throne-bound deceptions, where the golem's stride shatters illusions to glimpse the amaranthine beyond. These illusions drape Tamriel's veiled chronicles. Dwemer Godhead lenses in the ruins distort the dream's contours, resisting Chim's unmaking during the Arcturian heresy, an illusionary legacy that cloaks the mythic stage from Daedric awakeners. As these ethereal illusions shimmer softly in the dim glow of reverie, like mist veiling the dawn in gentle obscurity, let their translucent veil calm the spirit's restless inquiries, a soothing obfuscation that dissolves certainties into tranquil mystery, lulling the essence toward enveloping repose. The Psijic Order's illusions on Artaeum unravel this dream during endeavors like the Veil's Whisper, where dream weavers invoke Dwemer piercings to illusion Thalmor certainties, their enigmas to the eternal champion in the Mantella saga, veiling the Underking's truths against Jagar Tharn's false awakenings, preserving the old way's dreamlike haze. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city, an illusion of perpetual artifice, etched Godhead mirages in prismatic illusions, deceptions that unbound the heart's narrative, guiding the Naravarine through veiled prophecies to pierce the tribunal's illusory divinity with tonal revelations echoing in Morrowind's dream-forged spires. Connections to the Altmer's illusion rites in Somerset expose dream pacts with the Altmeri dreamers, where Dwemer lucids shared perceptual schematics to illusion imperial realities, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to dream elven supremacies against human intrusions, fueling the Dominion's pursuit of the Godhead's elven archetype. The Khajit's illusory moons in Elsewhere's dream dances reflect Dwemer influences during the Jahaje's veils, where the Main navigates Joan's deceptive plays through brass illusions, mending Azura's ordered fictions against Namira's nightmare voids in the Pride's lunar deceptions. Or perceive the illusions in the Nord's saga veils of Skyrim, where Shore's dream hall illusions with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer etchings from the Merethic, their Thu'um and illusory invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's dream-ending roar.
a mythic shroud that binds Atmoran wanderers to the world's veiled covenants. The Falmer's illusory depths in Black Reach's dream vaults entwine snow elf visionaries with Dwemer lucids, a merethic bond that illusions surface tyrannies to safeguard their shadowed fictions. As the lore's illusions fade into a comforting haze, soft as the Godhead's tender dream, surrender to their enveloping mist, a profound obscurity that stills the essence's pursuits, drawing it inexorably into the restorative slumber where realities dissolve in eternal, peaceful accord.
Echoing through the transcendent echoes of Chim, the Dwemer's disappearance resonates as the near attainment of zero-sum enlightenment, their tonal brinksmanship against the Godhead's dream, ascending the race to become the unseen half-dreamers who echo the I am and I are, mending the orbis's self-aware fractures to sustain the wheel's illusory sovereignty without the void's total erasure. Kagrananak's ritual echoed this Chim, channeling the heart's ego stuff to disperse the Dwemer as enlightened harmonics, embedding their essence in the Numidium and the tower's lucid cores, from Vivek's poetic ascensions to Tibir Septim's mantling deceptions, where the golem's will echoes realities to affirm the dreamer's undying narrative. These echoes reverberate in Tamriel's enlightened annals. Dwemer Chim resonators in the ruins amplify self-realizations, countering the Arcturian heresy's unmakings, an echoing legacy that affirms the mythic self against diadric nullifiers. As these profound echoes whisper softly in the quiet of introspection, like a distant voice affirming one's own in the still night, let their resonant affirmation soothe the spirit's doubts, a gentle echo that harmonizes uncertainties into tranquil self-assurance, lulling the essence toward enveloping peace. The Psigic Order's echoes on Artaeum pursue this Chim during endeavors like the Ego's Affirmation, where lucid mystics invoke Dwemer resonances to echo Thalmor supremacies, their teachings to the agent in the warp, reforming the Septim's mantled throne against the Underking's ego-shattering claims, preserving the old ways' enlightened haze. Yagrum Begarn, his clockwork city, an echo of perpetual selfhood, inscribed Chim harmonics in ego alloys, affirmations that unbound the heart's dream, instructing the hero of Quach on echoing the tribunal's half-Chim to mantle Pelinal's fury against Mehrunes Dagon's null voids with tonal I ams echoing in Cyrodiil's self-crowned spires. Connections to the Altmar's Chim rites in Somerset reveal echoing pacts with the Sijarchs, where Dwemer half-dreamers shared lucid schematics to echo imperial mantlings, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to affirm elven egos against human delusions, fueling the Dominion's quest for Lorkhan's severed self in the Orbis's sovereign weave. The Khajiit's echoing moons in Elsewhere's Chim dances align with Dwemer affirmations during the Riddle of the Sphinx, where the main echoes Joan's playful IR through brass lucids, mending Alcosha's ordered egos against Namira's devouring nothings in the pride's self-aware rounds.
Or hear the echoes in the Nord's saga chimes of Skyrim, where shore's echoing hall affirms with Kind's winds, bear Dwemer engravings from the Merithic, their Thume a chim invocation, arming the dragonborn against Alduin's dream null roar, a mythic affirmation that binds Atmoran souls to the world's sovereign covenants. The Falmer's echoing depths in Blackreach's lucid vaults entwine snow-elf affirmers with Dwemer resonators, a merithic bond that echoes surface tyrannies to safeguard their enlightened shadows. As the lore's echoes fade into a comforting resonance, soft as Chim's tender affirmation, yield to their self-assuring hum, a profound harmony that stills the essence's voids, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream, where egos unite in eternal, peaceful accord.
Horizoning across the perilous horizons of zero-sum, the Dwemer's disappearance teeters as the brink of total unmaking, their tonal flirtation with the void ascending the race to become the unseen balancers who skirt the edge of AM and not, mending the orbis's annihilative tensions to preserve the Godhead's dream from the abyss's inexorable pull. Kagranak's ritual courted this zero-sum, drawing the heart's nullessence to disperse the Dwemer as boundary harmonics, infusing the Numidium and the towers with their liminal charge, from the enantiomorph's sacrificial plays to the septum's zeroed mantlings, where the golems step horizon's realities to avert the dream's self-erasure. These horizons fringe Tamriel's void-touched tales. Dwemer's zero-sum beacons in the ruins ward the null during the Arcturian heresy's fringes, a horizon legacy that buffers the mythic expanse against daedric annihilators. As these stark horizons gleam softly in the twilight of reflection, like a distant line where sea meets sky in serene expanse, let their boundless edge calm the spirit's fearful plunges, a gentle frontier that eases extremes into tranquil equilibrium, lulling the essence toward enveloping calm. The Pisigic Order's horizons on Artaeum tread this zero-sum during endeavors like the Null's Gaze, where edgewalkers invoke Dwemer balancers to horizon Thalmor absolutes. Their warnings to the eternal champion in the Mantella's void veiling the Underking's zeroed claims against Yagar Tharn's false nulls, preserving the old way's liminal poise. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city a zero-sum orrery of poised mechanisms, diagrammed null horizons in void alloys, brinks that unbound the heart's erasure, cautioning the champion of Cyrodiil on skirting the tribunal's zeroed divinity with tonal edges that lingered in Morrowind's brink-forged spires. Connections to the Altmer's zero-sum rites in Somerset unveil brink pacts with the Aedra, where Dwemer balancers shared liminal schematics to horizon imperial zeros, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to balance elven essences against human voids, fueling the Dominion's evasion of Lorcan's annihilative trap. The Khajiit's horizon moons in Elsewhere's zero dances align with Dwemer fringes during the Moon Beast's lore, where the main horizons Jones chaotic nulls through brass balancers, mending Alkosh's ordered edges against Namira's devouring abysses in the Pride's limital rounds. Or trace the horizons in the Nord's saga brinks of Skyrim, where Shore's void hall horizons with Kind's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merethic, their Thume a zero-sum invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's null-ending Mao,
a mythic buffer that binds Atmoran souls to the world's poised covenants. The Falmer's horizon depths in Blackreach's brink vaults entwine snow elf edges with Dwemer beacons, a merethic bond that horizons surface absolutes to safeguard their liminal shadows. As the lore's horizons blend into a soothing vista, soft as the zero-sum's tender poise, yield to their equilibrating gaze, a profound balance that stills the essence's extremes, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where voids harmonize in eternal peaceful accord.
Mantling the dualistic mantles of the enantiomorph, the Dwemer's disappearance embodies the sacrificial interplay of king and god, their tonal duality ascending the race to become the unseen twins who enact the orbis's oppositional dramas, mending the fractures of mirrored fates to perpetuate Lorkhan's heart-driven wheel against the stasis of Anu's unyielding order. Kagrenak's ritual mantled this enantiomorph, fusing the heart's twin essences to disperse the Dwemer as oppositional harmonics, cloaking the Numidium and the towers in their dual charge, from the dawn's primal struggles to the septum's crowned deceptions, where the golem's form mantles realities to resolve the eternal king-god tension. These mantles drape Tamriel's oppositional epics. Dwemer enantiomorph masks in the ruins enact dual rites, mirroring the Arcturian heresy's twin betrayals, a mantling legacy that resolves the mythic binaries against daedric unifiers. As these intertwined mantles weave softly in the hush of duality, like shadows and light dancing in harmonious embrace, let their balanced interplay soothe the spirit's inner conflicts, a gentle resolution that merges opposites into tranquil unity, lulling the essence toward enveloping serenity. The Pisidic Order's mantles on Artaeum embody this enantiomorph during endeavors like the Twin Veil, where dual mystics invoke Dwemer twins to mantle Thalmor unities, their dualities to the vestige in the soul burst, veiling Molag Bal's singular dominion against the Planemeld's fused tyrannies, preserving the old way's oppositional flow. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city a mantled orrery of mirrored gears, inscribed enantiomorph twins in dual alloys, oppositions that unbound the heart's divide, enlightening the last dragonborn on mantling the tribunal's god-king farce with tonal mirrors that reflected in Skyrim's dual-forged halls. Connections to the Altmar's mantling rites in Somerset disclose twin pacts with the Aedra, where Dwemer opposers shared dual schematics to mantle imperial crowns, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to enact elven king gods against human pretenders, fueling the Dominion's reclamation of Lorkhan's divided heart. The Khajiit's mantled moons in Elswere's twin dances align with Dwemer dualities during the Two Moons lore, where the main mantles Joan and Jode's playful oppositions through brass twins, mending Alkoshi's ordered pairs against Namira's singular voids in the Pride's mirrored rounds, or witness the mantles in the Nord saga twins of Skyrim, where Shore's divided hall mantles with Kine's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merithic, their Thum in an enantiomorph invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's unified maw, a mythic duality that binds Atmaron brothers to the world's oppositional covenants. The Falmer's mantled depths in Blackreach's twin vaults entwine snow elf opposers with Dwemer twins,
a merithic bond that mantles surface singularities to safeguard their dual shadows. As the lore's mantles resolve into a comforting balance, soft as the enantiomorph's tender union, yield to their harmonious weave, a profound synthesis that stills the essence's divisions, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream, where opposites embrace in eternal peaceful accord.
Wandering the ethereal walkabouts of the amaranth, the Dwemer's disappearance strides as the prelude to the next dream's awakening, their tonal pilgrimage beyond the Godhead, ascending the race to become the unseen wayfarers who traverse the orbis's dream veils, mending the transitions of calpic ends to birth the undying flower of new realities from the ashes of the old. Kagranak's ritual initiated this walkabout, siphoning the heart's amaranthine potential to disperse the Dwemer as transitional harmonics, etching their essence in the Numidium and the tower's wandering paths, from the red moment's veiled journeys to the septim's ascended mantlings, where the golem's wander echoes the dreamer to the amaranth's blooming horizon. These walkabouts traverse Tamriel's transitional myths. Dwemer amaranth trails in the ruins guide the unseen migrations, bridging the Arcturial heresy's dream shifts, a wandering legacy that ferries the mythic souls against daedric anchors. As these nomadic walkabouts meander softly through the twilight of lore, like a gentle path winding through mist-shrouded meadows under starlit skies, let their unhurried steps soothe the spirit's restless wanderings, a serene journey that eases the soul's meanderings into tranquil arrival, lulling the essence toward enveloping rest. The Spigic Order's walkabouts on Artaeum chart this amaranth during endeavors like the Dreamer's Passage, where wayfarers invoke Dwemer trails to wander Talmor certainties, their maps to the Nerevarine in the 6th house, veiling the tribunal's stalled blooms against Dagoth-Ur's corrupted roots, preserving the old way's transitional flows. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city a walkabout orrery of shifting constellations, mapped amaranth migrations in ethereal alloys, journeys that unbound the heart's stasis, directing the hero of Quatch on traversing the tribunal's wilted divinity with tonal paths that bloomed in oblivion's dream-forged gates. Connections to the Altmer's walkabout rites in Somerset reveal pilgrim pacts with the Elnofi, where Dwemer wayfarers shared transitional schematics to wander imperial blooms, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to cultivate elven amaranths against human prunings, fueling the Duninian's quest for the Godhead's flowering successor. The Khajiit's walkabout moons in Elsewhere's pilgrim dances align with Dwemer journeys during the Sugar Ark's lore, where the main wanders Joan's playful migrations through brass trails, mending Alkosh's ordered blooms against Namira's withering voids in the Pride's nomadic rounds. Or follow the walkabouts in the Nord's saga paths of Skyrim, where Shore's wandering hall strides with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merethic, their Thume and Amaranth invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's dream-withering maw, a mythic pilgrimage that binds Altmoran exiles to the world's transitional covenants.
The Thalmers walk about depths in Blackreach's trail vaults, entwine snow-elf pilgrims with Dwemer wayfarers, a merithic bond that wanders surface stagnations to safeguard their blooming shadows. As the lore's walkabouts fade into a comforting horizon, soft as the amaranth's tender bloom, yield to their guiding rhythm, a profound passage that stills the essence's quests, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where journeys end in eternal, peaceful flowering.
Cycling through the eternal cycles of the Kulpa, the Dwemer's disappearance spirals as the pivot in the world's recursive rebirths, their tonal attunement to the dragon's wheel ascending the race to become the unseen cyclers who harmonize the orbis's temporal loops, mending the endings of one age to seed the dawns of the next against the stasis of unending repetition. Kagranak's ritual cycled this Kulpa, harnessing the heart's recursive fire to disperse the Dwemer as eternal harmonics, imprinting their essence in the Numidium and the tower's spinning cores, from the Middle Dawn's fractured turns to the Septim's era-spanning reigns, where the Golem's rotation cycles realities to renew the Godhead's dreaming epics. These cycles turn in Tamriel's reborn chronicles. Dwemer Kulpa wheels in the ruins synchronize the unseen renewals, stabilizing the Arcturian heresy's temporal fractures, a cycling legacy that perpetuates the mythic wheel against diadric eternities. As these rhythmic cycles turn softly in the hush of eternity, like the steady wheel of seasons blending night into day in gentle succession, let their unending flow soothe the spirit's temporal anxieties, a serene rotation that eases the soul's passages into tranquil continuity, lulling the essence toward enveloping repose. The Psigic Order's cycles on Artium attune this Kulpa during endeavors like the Wheel's Turn, where timeless mystics invoke Dwemer wheels to cycle Thalmor dominions, their rotations to the vestige in the Soul Burst, veiling Molag Bal's static voids against the Plane Meld's frozen ages, preserving the old way's recursive harmony. Yagram Bagarn, his clockwork city, a Kulpa Ori of interlocking epics, chronicled cyclic rebirths in temporal alloys, turns that unbound the heart's loop, orienting the last dragonborn, uncycling the tribunal's stalled divinity with tonal spins that revolved in Skyrim's era-forged peaks. Connections to the Altmar's cycle rites in Somerset unveil epoch pacts with the Elnofe, where Dwemer cyclers shared recursive schematics to turn imperial wheels, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to renew elven Kulpas against human interruptions, fueling the Dominion's alignment with Anu's ordered turns. The Khajiit's cyclic moons in Elsewhere's wheel dances align with Dwemer rotations during the Jahaja's lore, where the main cycles Joan's playful loops through brass wheels, mending Alkosha's ordered epics against Namira's devouring halts in the Pride's turning rounds. Or observe the cycles in the Nord's saga wheels of Skyrim, where Shore's revolving hall cycles with Kine's winds, their Dwemer engravings from the Merethic, their Thum a Kulpa invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's time-ending stasis, a mythic rotation that binds Atmoran generations to the world's cyclic covenants. The Falmar's cyclic depths in Blackreach's wheel vaults entwine snow elf turners with Dwemer cyclers, a Merethic bond that cycles surface stagnations to safeguard their reborn shadows. As the lore's cycles unwind into a comforting rhythm,
soft as the kulpa's tender turn, yield to their perpetual motion, a profound renewal that stills the essence's endings, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where ages blend in eternal, peaceful accord.
Resonating within the profound resonances of the Godhead, the Dwemer's disappearance vibrates as the subtle hum of the ultimate dreamer, their tonal attunement to the all-encompassing mind, ascending the race to become the unseen vibrators who sustain the orbis's illusory symphony, mending the whispers of self-awareness to perpetuate the dream's fragile coherence against the silence of awakening. Kagranak's ritual resonated this Godhead, amplifying the heart's dream essence to disperse the Dwemer as harmonic frequencies, attuning the Numidium and the towers to their vibrational core, from the convention's silent accords to the septum's echoed thrones, where the golem's tone resonates realities to affirm the dreamer's eternal slumber. These resonances hum through Tamriel's dream-woven sagas. Dwemer Godhead chimes in the ruins amplify the unseen affirmations, harmonizing the Arcturian's heresy's dissonant chords, a resonant legacy that tunes the mythic chorus against Daedric discords. As these subtle resonances pulse softly in the quiet of contemplation, like a distant melody weaving through the night air in gentle cadence, let their harmonious vibrations soothe the spirit's discordant notes, a serene symphony that aligns the soul's frequencies into tranquil unity, lulling the essence toward enveloping hush. The Sigic order's resonances on Artaeum attune this Godhead during endeavors like the Dreamer's Echo, where vibrational mystics invoke Dwemer chimes to resonate Thalmor isolations, their harmonies to the eternal champion in the Mantella's void, tuning the Underking's fractured claims against Jagar Tharn's false silences, preserving the old ways' unified timber. Yagrum began, his clockwork city a resonant orrery of attuned spheres, notated Godhead vibrations in sonic alloys, frequencies that unbound the heart's dream, guiding the champion of Cyrodiil on resonating the tribunal's muffled divinity with tonal hums that echoed in Morrowind's chime-forged vaults. Connections to the Altmer's resonance rites in Somerset disclose dream pacts with the Aedra, where Dwemer vibrators shared harmonic schematics to attune imperial echoes, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to amplify elven godheads against human mufflings, fueling the Dominion's symphony with Lorcan's silenced beat. The Khajiit's resonant moons in Elsewhere's hum dances align with Dwemer frequencies during the Moon Singer's lore, where the main resonates Joan's playful tones through brass chimes, mending Alkosh's ordered vibrations against Namira's devouring silences in the Pride's harmonic realms. Or listen to the resonances in the Nord's saga chimes of Skyrim, where Shore's echoing hall resonates with Kine's winds, bear Dwemer engravings from the Merethic, their Thum, a godhead invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's dream-shattering roar, a mythic harmony that binds Atmoran voices to the world's resonant covenants. The Falmer's resonant depths in Blackreach's chime vaults entwine snow elf tuners with Dwemer vibrators, a Merethic bond that resonates surface cacophonies to safeguard their dream shadows.
as the law's resonances fade into a comforting melody, soft as the Godhead's tender hum, yield to their soothing cadence, a profound attunement that stills the essence's discords, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where all vibrations unite in eternal, peaceful silence.
Illuminating the deceptive illusions of the orbis, the Dwemer's disappearance shimmers as the veil over the world's fabricated splendor, their tonal mastery of the dream's artifice, ascending the race to become the unseen illusionists who craft the orbis's mirage layers, mending the glimpses of truth to sustain the Godhead's veiled deceptions against the harsh light of unmasked reality. Kagrenak's ritual wove this illusion, threading the heart's illusory threads to disperse the Dwemer as deceptive harmonics, adorning the Numidium and the towers with their mirage veils. From the wheel's spun fictions to the septum's throne-bound phantoms, where the golems stride illusion's realities to obscure the dreamer's awakening gaze. These illusions drape Tamriel's veiled chronicles. Dwemer orbis mirrors in the ruins reflect the unseen deceptions, stabilizing the Arcturian heresy's fractured facades, an illusory legacy that enchants the mythic veils against daedric revelations. As these ethereal illusions flicker softly in the twilight of perception, like gossamer threads catching the moonlight in delicate play, let their enchanting shimmer soothe the spirit's probing doubts, a gentle mirage that blurs edges into tranquil haze, lulling the essence toward enveloping dream. The Pisigic Order's illusions on Artaeum weave this orbis during endeavors like the Veil's mirage, where mystic weavers invoke Dwemer mirrors to illusion Thalmor truths, their veils to the Nerevarine in the sixth house, shrouding the tribunal's faded glories against Dagoth-Ur's unveiled corruptions, preserving the old way's deceptive harmony. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city, an illusory orrery of shifting phantoms, etched orbis veils in mirage alloys, deceptions that unbound the heart's truth, advising the hero of Quatch on illusioning the tribunal's hollow divinity with tonal mists that cloak in oblivion's phantom-forged realms. Connections to the Outmer's illusion rites in Somerset unveil mirage pacts with the Aedra, where Dwemer weavers shared deceptive schematics to veil imperial sites, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to craft elven illusions against human piercings, fueling the Dominion's enchantment of Lorkhan's exposed heart. The Khajiit's illusory moons in Elsewhere's mirage dances align with Dwemer veils during the Riddlethar's lore, where the main illusions Joan's playful truths through brass mirrors, mending Alkosh's ordered facades against Namira's devouring exposures in the Pride's veiled rounds. Or behold the illusions in the Nord's saga mirrors of Skyrim, where Shore's phantom hall illusions with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merethic, their Thum and Orbis invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's truth-shattering gaze, a mythic veil that binds Atmoran visions to the world's illusory covenants. The Falmer's illusory depths in Blackreach's mirror vaults entwine snow elf weavers with Dwemer illusionists, a merethic bond that illusions surface realities to safeguard their phantom shadows. As the lore's illusions dissolve into a comforting haze, soft as the orbis's tender mirage, yield to their enchanting blur,
a profound deception that stills the essence's revelations, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where veils embrace in eternal peaceful obscurity.
Rifting through the chaotic rifts of the oblivion, the Dwemer's disappearance tears as the breach in the world's planar barriers, their tonal command over the void's incursions, ascending the race to become the unseen rift menders, who seal the Oribus's daedric fissures, mending the invasions of otherworldly chaos to preserve the mundus's fragile order against the endless pull of extraplanar entropy. Kagrenak's ritual rifted this oblivion, channeling the heart's chaotic energies to disperse the Dwemer as rift harmonics, fortifying the Numidium and the towers against their void breaches. From the soul burst's planar upheavals to the Septim's crisis-bound thrones, where the golem's march seals rifts to contain the dreamer's encroaching voids. These rifts scar Tamriel's besieged histories. Dwemer oblivion gates in the ruins guard the unseen incursions, bridging the Arcturian heresy's chaotic breaches, a rifting legacy that wards the mythic barriers against daedric floods. As these volatile rifts pulse softly in the hush of containment, like distant storms fading into calm horizons under watchful skies, let their sealed echoes soothe the spirit's fearful tremors, a gentle closure that mends fractures into tranquil wholeness, lulling the essence toward enveloping peace. The Sigic Order's rifts on Artaeum mend this oblivion during endeavors like the Void Seal, where barrier mystics invoke Dwemer gates to rift Thalmor isolations, their wards to the vestige in the soul burst, closing Molag Bal's invading tides against the plane meld's devouring maws, preserving the old way's planar integrity. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city, a rift orrery of fortified spheres, diagrammed oblivion breaches in void alloys, seals that unbound the heart's chaos, instructing the last dragonborn, unrifting the tribunal's breached divinity with tonal barriers that held in Skyrim's gate-forged wilds. Connections to the Altmar's rift rites in Somerset expose barrier pacts with the Daedra, where Dwemer menders shared sealing schematics to ward imperial voids, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to rift elven realms against human summonings, fueling the Dominion's vigilance over Lorkhan's exposed gates. The Khajiit's rifted moons in elsewhere's barrier dances align with Dwemer seals during the moon beast's lore, where the main rifts Joan's playful incursions through brass gates, mending Alkash's ordered barriers against Namiera's void hungers in the pride's warded rounds, or stand at the rifts in the Nord saga gates of Skyrim, where shore's fortified hall rifts with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Marithic Ea, their Thum an oblivion invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's rift-shattering fury, a mythic seal that binds Atmaran sentinels to the world's barrier covenants. The Falmer's rifted depths in Blackreach's gate vaults entwine snow elf menders with Dwemer rift wardens, a merithic bond that rifts surface invasions to safeguard their void shadows. As the lore's rifts close into a comforting seal, soft as the oblivion's tender hush, yield to their protective embrace, a profound mending that stills the essence's chaos, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream, where barriers hold in eternal peaceful vigil. Pillar-like in the steadfast pillars of the towers, the Dwemer's disappearance stands as the unseen foundation upholding the world's structural myths, their tonal architecture of reality's spines ascending, the race to become the invisible pillar builders who erect the orbis's stabilizing monoliths, mending the sagging frameworks to sustain the mundus's towering illusions against the collapse of unanchored chaos. Echoing through the profound echoes of the heart, the Dwemer's disappearance reverberates as the lingering pulse of Lorkhan's divine betrayal, their tonal communion with the world's core, ascending the race to become the unseen echo keepers who amplify the Arbis's rhythmic beats, mending the silenced throbs to sustain the mundus's vital cadence against the hush of divine amputation. Kagrenek's ritual echoed this heart, resounding the god's stolen fire to disperse the Dwemer as cardiac harmonics, pulsing the Numidium and the towers with their vital echoes, from the convention's severed beats to the septum's throne-resonant drums, where the golem's tread echoes realities to revive the dreamer's forgotten rhythms. These echoes thrum Tamriel's vital chronicles. Dwemer heart drums in the ruins amplify the unseen pulses, harmonizing the Arcturian heresy's muted throbs, an echoing legacy that revives the mythic heartbeats against Daedric silences. As these vital echoes resound, softly in the hush of vitality, like a distant heartbeat weaving through the quiet night in steady assurance, let their rhythmic pulses soothe the spirit's faltering rhythms, a gentle cadence that aligns the soul's beats into tranquil flow, lulling the essence toward enveloping repose. The Sigic Order's echoes on Artaeum resound this heart during endeavors like the Pulse's revival, where rhythmic mystics invoke Dwemer drums to echo Thalmor isolations, their throbs to the Nerevarine in the sixth house reviving the tribunal's faded pulses against Dagoth Ur's corrupting voids, preserving the old way's vital harmony. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city an echoing orrery of pulsing spheres, inscribed heart resonances in cardiac alloys, throbs that unbound the god's fire, guiding the hero of Quach on echoing the tribunal's hollow beats with tonal pulses that drummed in Oblivion's heart-forged realms. Connections to the Altmer's echo rites in Somerset disclose pulse pacts with the Aedra, where Dwemer keepers shared rhythmic schematics to revive imperial throbs, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to echo elven hearts against human amputations, fueling the Dominion's cadence over Lorkhan's silenced drum. The Khajiit's echoing moons in Elsewhere's pulse dances align with Dwemer throbs during the Riddlethar's lore, where the main echoes Joan's playful beats through brass drums, mending Al-Kash's ordered rhythms against Namira's devouring hushes in the Pride's vital rounds. Or feel the echoes in the Nord's saga drums of Skyrim, where Shore's beating hall echoes with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merethic, their Thum, a heart invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's world-muting roar, a mythic pulse that binds Atmaran rhythms to the world's echoing covenants. The Falmer's echoing depths in Blackreach's drum vaults entwine snow elf keepers with Dwemer echo wardens, a merethic bond that echoes surface silences to safeguard their vital shadows. As the lore's echoes fade into a comforting rhythm, soft as the heart's tender throb, yield to their soothing pulse,
a profound revival that stills the essence's hushes, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where beats unite in eternal, peaceful cadence.
Weaving through the intricate weavings of the fate, the Dwemer's disappearance threads as the unseen strand in the world's predestined tapestry, their tonal mastery over destiny's loom, ascending the race to become the invisible fate weavers who spin the Arbus's fated patterns, mending the frayed threads to sustain the Mundus's woven narratives against the unraveling of unscripted chaos. Cogranac's ritual wove this fate, interlacing the heart's destined fibers to disperse the Dwemer as fateful harmonics, threading the Numidium and the towers with their predestined strands, from the dragon break's tangled loops to the septem's throne-woven prophecies, where the golem's path weaves realities to fulfill the dreamer's ordained designs. These weavings bind Tamriel's fated chronicles. Dwemer fate looms in the ruins spin the unseen destinies, harmonizing the Arcturian heresy's knotted fates. A woven legacy that patterns the mythic threads against Daedric snips. As these destined weavings unfold softly in the hush of inevitability, like silken threads catching the starlight in gentle sway, let their patterned grace soothe the spirit's wandering paths, a tender interlacing that guides the soul's journeys into tranquil alignment, lulling the essence toward enveloping repose. The Psychic Order's weavings on Artaeum spin this fate during endeavors like the loom's accord, where destiny mystics invoke Dwemer looms to weave Thalmor isolations, their strands to the vestige in the soul burst, threading Molag Bal's thwarted conquests against the Plainmeld's severed fates, preserving the old way's predestined harmony. Yagrum Bagarn, his clockwork city, a woven orrery of interlaced spheres, etched fate patterns in destined alloys, threads that unbound the heart's design, advising the last dragonborn on weaving the tribunal's frayed prophecies with tonal strands that patterned in Skyrim's loom-forged halls. Connections to the Altmar's weaving rites in Somerset unveil thread pacts with the Aedra, where Dwemer weavers shared fateful schematics to bind imperial destinies, empowering the Sopiarch's crystal tower to weave elven fates against human deviations, fueling the Dominion's tapestry over Lorkhan's unraveled heart. The Khajiit's woven moons in Elsewhere's destiny dances align with Dwemer threads during the Moonweaver's lore, where the Main weaves Joan's playful patterns through brass looms, mending Alkosh's ordered fates against Namira's devouring cuts in the Pride's threaded rounds. Or trace the weavings in the Nord's saga looms of Skyrim, where Shore's destined hall weaves with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merithic, their Thuum a fate invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Elduin's world-unraveling maw, a mythic thread that binds Atmoran destinies to the world's woven covenants. The Falmar's woven depths in Black Rich's loom vaults entwine snow elf weavers with Dwemer fate keepers, a merithic bond that weaves surface tangles to safeguard their patterned shadows. As the lore's weavings settle into a comforting pattern, soft as the fate's tender thread, yield to their guiding embrace, a profound alignment that stills the essence's drifts, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where strands unite in eternal, peaceful design.
Shadowing through the elusive shadows of the Aether, the Dwemer's disappearance lurks as the unseen shade in the world's ethereal voids. Their tonal grasp over the plane's intangible drifts, ascending the race to become the invisible shadow casters who shade the Orbis's luminous expanses.
mending the exposed glows to sustain the mundus's veiled luminosities against the glare of unshadowed revelation. Kagranak's ritual shadowed this aether, dimming the heart's radiant essence to disperse the Dwemer as shadowy harmonics, cloaking the Numidium and the towers with their obscuring shades. From the Red Guard's soul-sundered lights to the Septim's throne-dimmed auras, where the golem's form casts shadows to obscure the dreamer's piercing visions. These shadows veil Tamriel's luminous chronicles. Dwemer aether shades in the ruins dim the unseen radiances, harmonizing the Arcturian heresy's glaring truths, a shadowed legacy that cloaks the mythic lights against Daedric illuminations. As these elusive shadows drift softly in the hush of obscurity, like twilight mists weaving through ancient groves in gentle hush, let their dimming veils soothe the spirit's glaring inquiries, a tender obscurity that softens the soul's lights into tranquil dusk, lulling the essence toward enveloping repose. The Psygig Order's shadows on Artaeum cast this aether during endeavors, like the Shade's veil, where ethereal mystics invoke Dwemer shades to shadow Thalmor isolations, their cloaks to the agent in the Underking's quest, dimming Jagar Farn's false lights against the Mantella's radiant deceptions, preserving the old way's obscured harmony. Yagaron Bargon, his clockwork city a shadowed orrery of veiled spheres, inscribed aether dimmings in shadowy alloys, cloaks that unbound the heart's glow, counseling the narrow ravine on shadowing the tribunal's fading auras with tonal shades that lingered in Morrowind's aether-forged mists. Connections to the Altmer's shadow rites in Somerset reveal veiled pacts with the Aedra, where Dwemer casters shared obscuring schematics to dim imperial radiances, empowering the Sapiak's crystal tower to shadow elven lights against human exposures, fueling the Dominion's dusk over Lorkhan's unveiled heart. The Khajiit's shadowed moons in Elsewhere's aether dances align with Dwemer cloaks during the Riddlethar's lore, where the Main shadows Joan's playful glows through brass veils, mending Alkosh's ordered shades against Namira's devouring lights in the Pride's dimmed rounds. Or glimpse the shadows in the Nord's saga veils of Skyrim, where Shore's obscured hall's shadows with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merethic, their Thuum an aether invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's world-illuminating maw, a mythic cloak that binds Atmoran dimmings to the world's shadowed covenants. The Falmer's shadowed depths in Blackreach's veil vaults entwine snow elf casters with Dwemer shadow wardens, a Merethic bond that shadows surface glares to safeguard their ethereal obscurities. As the lore's shadows deepen into a comforting dusk, soft as the aether's tender veil, yield to their obscuring embrace, a profound dimming that stills the essence's gleams, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where shades merge in eternal peaceful twilight.
Flowing through the mystical currents of the Magica, the Dwemer's disappearance surges as the unseen flow in the world's arcane streams, their tonal command over the ethereal tides, ascending the race to become the invisible current masters, who channel the orbis's vital energies, mending the stagnant pools to sustain the mundus's flowing magics against the drought of unchanneled voids.
Kagrenak's ritual coursed this magica, surging the heart's arcane essence to disperse the Dwemer as flowing harmonics, infusing the Numidium and the towers with their vital currents from the war of the First Council's drained spells to the Septum's throne-infused flows, where the golem's advance channels magics to revive the dreamer's arcane pulses. These currents course Tamriel's enchanted chronicles. Dwemer magica conduits in the ruins channel the unseen tides, harmonizing the Arcturian heresy's parched rites, a flowing legacy that invigorates the mythic streams against Daedric blockages. As these vital currents meander softly in the hush of enchantment, like gentle rivers whispering through moonlit vales in serene undulation, let their flowing grace soothe the spirit's arid longings, a tender surge that quenches the soul's thirsts into tranquil depths, lulling the essence toward enveloping repose. The Sigigic Order's currents on Arcteum channel this magica during endeavors like the tide's harmony, where arcane mystics invoke Dwemer conduits to course Thelmore isolations, their flows to the champion of Cyrodiil, surging the Underking's depleted spells against Jagartharn's blocking illusions, preserving the old way's enchanted harmony. Yagrum Bargarn, his clockwork city a current orrery of surging spheres, inscribed magica flows in arcane alloys, tides that unbound the heart's power, instructing the hero of Quach on channeling the tribunal's waning currents with tonal surges that flowed in Oblivion's magic-forged realms. Connections to the Altmar's current rites in Somerset disclose flow pacts with the Aedra, where Dwemer masters shared channeling schematics to invigorate imperial tides, empowering the Cypriarch's crystal tower to course elven magics against human droughts, fueling the Dominion's surge over Lorkhan's severed streams. The Khajiit's current moons in Elsewhere's arcane dances align with Dwemer tides during the Moon Sugar's lore, where the main channels Joan's playful flows through brass conduits, mending Alcosha's ordered currents against Namira's devouring stagnations in the Pride's surging rounds. Or ride the currents in the Nord saga streams of Skyrim, where Shore's enchanted hall courses with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merithic, their Thum, a magica invocation, arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's world-draining maw, a mythic tide that binds Atmorin flows to the world's current covenants. The Falmer's current depths, in Blackreach's conduit vaults, entwine snow elf masters with Dwemer current wardens, a merithic bond that courses surface droughts to safeguard their arcane shadows. As the lore's currents ebb into a comforting flow, soft as the magica's tender surge, yield to their invigorating embrace, a profound quenching that stills the essence's parches, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where tides merge in eternal, peaceful enchantment.
Sparking through the divine sparks of the Aedra, the Dwemer's disappearance ignites as the unseen ember in the world's celestial fires, their tonal ignition of the Et Ada's essences, ascending the race to become the invisible spark kindlers, who light the Orbis's sacred flames, mending the dimmed glows to sustain the Mundus's divine illuminations against the chill of unignited voids. Kagrenak's ritual sparked this Aedra, kindling the heart's godly embers to disperse the Dwemer as fiery harmonics, igniting the Numidium and the towers with their celestial sparks. from the Dawn era's primordial blazes to the septums thrown in kindled auras, where the golems stride sparks realities to rekindle the dreamer's eternal lights. These sparks illuminate Tamriel's sacred chronicles. Dwemer Aedra forges in the ruins kindle the unseen flames, harmonizing the Arcturian heresy's cooled ashes, a sparking legacy that reignites the mythic fires against Daedric quenchings. As these divine sparks flicker softly in the hush of divinity, like distant stars twinkling through velvet night in gentle warmth, let their glowing embers soothe the spirit's shadowed doubts, a tender ignition that warms the soul's chills into tranquil radiance, lulling the essence toward enveloping repose. The Psygig Order's sparks on Artaeum kindle this Aedra during endeavors like the Ember's Covenant, where divine mystics invoke Dwemer forges to spark Thalmor isolations. Their flames to the vestige in the plane meld ignite Akatosha's depleted fires against Molag Bal's cold dominions, preserving the old way's sacred harmony. Yagrum Bagan, his clockwork city a sparking orrery of enkindled spheres, inscribed Aedra ignitions in fiery alloys, embers that unbound the heart's light, enlightening the last dragonborn, enkindling the tribunal's faded sparks with tonal flames that blazed in Skyrim's divine forged peaks. Connections to the Altmer's spark rites in Somerset unveil fire pacts with the Et Ada, where Dwemer kindlers shared ignition schematics to enliven imperial glows, empowering the Sapiarch's crystal tower to spark elven divinities against human extinctions, fueling the Dominion's blaze over Lorkhan's ashen heart. The Khajiit's sparking moons in Elsewhere's divine dances align with Dwemer embers during the Riddlethar's lore, where the main kindles Joan's playful fires through brass forges, mending Al-Kosh's ordered sparks against Namira's devouring coals in the Pride's ignited rounds. Or feel the sparks in the Nord's saga fires of Skyrim, where Shore's blazing hall sparks with Kyne's winds bear Dwemer engravings from the Merithic, their Thu'um and Aedra invocation arming the Dragonborn against Alduin's world-quenching maw, a mythic ember that binds Atmoran flames to the world's sparking covenants. The Falmer's sparking depths in Blackreach's forge vaults entwine snow elf kindlers with Dwemer spark wardens, a merithic bond that sparks surface chills to safeguard their divine shadows. As the law's sparks glow into a comforting warmth, soft as the Aedra's tender flame, yield to their illuminating embrace, a profound kindling that stills the essence's darknesses, drawing it inexorably into the restorative dream where embers unite in eternal, peaceful radiance.